Welcome, gals and fellas, to day 2 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable Roaring 20s Second Swing event. When it comes to the golden age of fixed ops, we're the bee's knees. And here's the cat's pajamas herself, Vanessa Collins.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Vanessa Collins from Northwood University, here to welcome you to day 2 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable's Roaring 20s Second Swing event. Fix your fedoras and shine your monocles because this is the event of the century and we're roaring to get started. So hop on the trolley and welcome to the sensational spectacle that is the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Eager to buzz in? The best way to mix and mingle is to join our speakeasy by using the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. It's the age of the automobile. Rolling in to start our day is the driveway process panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings. We are at Uber headquarters in New York City. And Ted, this panel today has a lot to talk about with the driveway process and service acquisition.
Sarah, very timely panel with our team of experts here. I want to go to the retailers first who are on the panel. So if it's okay, Tully, let me come to you first. How has the Nilo company leveraged the service drive as a source for vehicle acquisition?
It's our most prized possession. When you think about what it does, it starts when they buy the car and you sell them a service contract, right? If your service contract penetration is now that customer is coming to your store, remember, repeat and referral here. They come in our service drive, we maintain that car, we keep them happy with that car, they love that brand. Why would they not want to buy another one? And guess what happens when they have all those three things? Is that car now turns into the perfect used car. It's maintained, it's fixed, and the recon is low-ish. I just say ish. But our goal is that we want to make sure that we have quality used cars, and it starts with your service drive and great customers in those cars.
And how are you leveraging the service drive over at Ozark?
The service drive is an opportunity for everything we do. This is an opportunity for service, it's an opportunity for sales. The customer comes in already questioning whether they want to keep that vehicle or not. It's giving them some trouble. They're headed to come in for service. They're saying, should I fix it? Should I buy another one? So it's an opportunity to be able to answer the questions that they already have, but not necessarily are asking.
100%.
And Brian, Kramer, what are you seeing? What strategies are effective right now?
I would say, well, when you run, especially for any dealership, but when you run the kind of repair order volume that these two are running, you don't want to, they're so fast and they're so efficient. I serviced my Bronco in 28 minutes at Ed's store. You don't want to mess that flow up. And when you're running that efficient, you want to be able to present an offer quickly. You don't want to sell. You want to kind of do the opposite of that. And you want to just make sure that you're providing information in a very not molesting the customers, just they have the information available whenever they'd like it, similar to some of the online aggregators. I think every dealership needs to leverage technology so that whenever the client wants a value for their vehicle, they can get in a very non-confrontational way where it's not being sold, so that they're going to the dealer instead of going to a third-party competitor to get that information. So like an always-on strategy.
Shon, you got a big operation there with eight rooftops in Wisconsin. What are you seeing in terms of acquisition?
Huge opportunity. Again, Tully and I always say the best place to fix a car is when it's in the air. The opportunity for sales to pull out of the service drive. I think there has to be an incentive for the advisor to refer it, but the opportunity is huge. The car is already there. It's already in there. You already know what's broken. It's literally, and chances are you're going to fix the car anyway, so the advisor or the technician is not going to lose out.
Correct.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the reconditioning process itself. And Mike, I'll come to you, and then I'd love to get some additional perspectives. But what are some of the biggest bottlenecks in the reconditioning process today, and how are dealers addressing them?
It's funny, I've been doing this for quite a while, both at the retail side and then on the vendor side with software. The biggest opportunity for a dealership back then and still today is really understanding what capacity they have, who do they have, and really what are they trying to do. So whether you're looking at the acquisition in the service lane, we have to decentralize the thought process and say, hey, are we adding benefit in everything we do? So when you're looking at your internal detail, external detail, and you're looking at your service facility, who do I have doing what? Are they the right people, and are they connected? Does everybody really understand what the end goal is? So when you think about it from that perspective, I think that's the biggest opportunity in reconditioning, is to really understand your own capabilities, but then constantly trying to evolve it. So hey, I need to add more people. I need to coach somebody up. I need to coach somebody out. And really, what are we trying to accomplish?
David, what other bottlenecks should we be considering?
I think the biggest one is the need to eliminate decision making.
Correct.
The reality is that the vast majority of dealerships today still follow the age-old and wildly proven to be a failure process to where they get a car in, Sarah, the used car manager must look at the car. Some of them still use the pan on the windshield.
No, they've already
They have
done the
to,
appraisal.
the dude just appraised the car, or the woman just appraised the car and said it needs 1,500 in recon. But then after, I gotta wait for that person to say what the car needs. Then the car goes into the shop. Then the person ultimately is going to get the car into the shop up on the rack. The technician's going to come back, see what they found. Now I got to go back and find the used car manager. Is it okay to do what you told me to do? And they go back and forth in this dance. And the reality is, when you look at every top performing store out there, they've eliminated decision making. We all know what the car needs. If you have state requirements, follow the state requirements. If you want to go with physical appearance after that, that's easy. Everybody knows what their average recon dollar amount. If you're spending $1,000, you can pre-approve $1,000. All right, so there's things that you could do to streamline that process to get the car in and out. The second thing I'll say is in California, where this gentleman is, where you have to smog a car. It's got to be smogged in safety before the car can be presented for sale. Presented for sale is not just on the front line, that means online. And what happens is cars will sit there and rot and sit there. At some dealerships, not his, but in most stores they will. I can't get the pictures done online until it's smogged in safety. And I'm telling them instead, get the pictures done first, get those up day one, because the data I can tell you is irrefutable. You're gonna make maximum gross on any car sold in under 15 days. That gross gets cut in half between 16 days and 30. And after that, it largely becomes an aggregated negative gross. So it's a big deal.
You know, I'd like to add something to that. So one of the things you said, of course, all of it's really good, right?
I know.
And it's funny that,
I'm working on my stuff.
you know, for years and years, you know, I hear so much of the right thing, but then you get into the actual dealership world, right, in the heat of the battle, and people forget. And I always challenge people. I say, hey, when you're appraising a car, what is an appraisal? It's a reconditioning plan. You said, hey, I'm looking at this vehicle through the lens of I want to retail. If it does not meet certain requirements and I think that I cannot make enough money or do it in the amount of time to make the money, then the best end user is not me, right? We've talked about that for years. And then I need to execute on a plan to get rid of that vehicle. But if you take that vehicle in and part of your strategy was to retail it, then you shouldn't have the back and forth. You already wrote out, you should have documented.
Well, the
what
problem
you
is
expect
that
to
doesn't
spend.
happen in most cases.
It doesn't.
Everybody needs to go back to the basics, just like an F&I, just like an MPI, of going through the basic steps of an appraisal. That's where it begins, and that's where it's breaking
Document
apart.
everything.
Yeah.
Document everything, because I have to be able to go back to my appraiser to make sure that they have intelligent conversations with service. Because I mean, I mentioned decentralized. We're all in it together, right? We all want to sell more cars. We have to buy more cars to do that. If my service is disconnected from my acquisition, then we're missing the boat. We're not acquiring the way we should. We're not empowering people with the right information to make the right decision.
Unnecessary steps.
Exactly. I keep slowing things down.
Let me add one more thing. We're talking about service drive acquisitions. All what we talked about is all a bunch of baloney because we already know what the car needs, right? Right? This thing here should be in the shop the same day, if not the next day, to be reconned, and they should have authorized it. Just like Spisak said, it needs to be already authorized because we already have the price.
Right.
That is the power of a service drive. And what happens? We have two great customers. We have the customer that traded the car in, that buys a new car, and now we have a great used car customer. This is what the winner is. This is the big win for service drive acquisition.
Mark, I want to come to you and thinking about the reconditioning process. We've covered a lot of pieces, but one thing that we haven't talked about with the bottlenecks is sometimes around processes and technology.
Yes, in our case with the camera, both what David alluded to on speed being necessary, and earlier today, Brian Benstock said it is amazing how long things take to develop and how shocking when they happen. Correct. And one of the first things we got asked to teach the camera to do was as soon as a car gets on site, in fact, Ed and his partner Jeff King called it air traffic control. They told us the first thing we want you to do, Mark, is have a camera placement at our entrances and curb cuts and exits, and we want to know who's here and marry that to our Reynolds DMS. When we do that, now we've trained the camera to instantly know which vehicle, if it's going into service, what pricing they want to put on it, have the agent get that out to the customer instantly, and the speed and the ability for the customer on their terms to interact with the agent, eliminate the decision making in the back and forth needed for some of the human pieces, is where technology can lean in addition to the camera knowing where the vehicle is at each time during the process, what shape it's in, what's it look like. There's a lot of other pieces once you get it trained right.
I think one other thing with the cameras as well that's really critically important, and Brian talking about AI, number one, being able to have every car that comes into that driveway to have a very fast, seamless appraisal done, because it's able to trigger it off the license plate. The second thing is, we all know this in fixed, is 2 words, cycle time. Right, cycle time equals throughput, equals proficiency, equals the volume of cars like you get in and out. And when it comes to reconditioning, speed counts.
So let me tie in a few of those pieces together. We're talking about service drive acquisition, and for all of us dealers, a customer may make the decision when something's going on with their vehicle to just trade it. Well, some make the decision to come through service. Well, when they just trade it, it's really a search warrant for our technicians to go figure out what's wrong with them, because they haven't been told anything that's wrong with it. And we hope they land on those things. And those are the ones that come back in your service drive that after you drive it for 2 hours, it ends up with this after you've sold it as a used car, because we gave them a search warrant. And we really don't know what that recon cost is going to be. But when we work the service drive, they've already told us what's wrong with their vehicle. Right. Yep. And now there's an opportunity to sell them a vehicle as well. So now we have a better understanding of what we need to do with that vehicle going forward.
And to your point, Ed, the clients already told you their vehicle's broken. The defenses are already down. Right. They're not there because they want to give us kisses and hugs. Maybe at your store. They're not. Well, maybe in store, but they're not there. They're not there because they want to be there. As you've always said, it's not convenient to come there. They're there, and the defenses are down because they already know the vehicle has an issue.
Right. And a lot of times they're already weighing out in their minds. I mean, they're coming there for a specific reason. So they're already weighing out, okay, based on this information, it might be time to sell or trade my vehicle in. I mean, that is the most opportune time to have an intelligent discussion, to be of service to that customer, to bring them back in, right? Whether we're not selling them service, but then we're selling them on why they should sell their vehicle to us. But really, it's not even selling, you're just being of service.
And you look at, too, as a service writer, usually is the most trusted person that the customer has. Yes. So that customer and that relationship with the service advisor. So we want the service writer to be 100% bought in to why we've taken these acquisitions. Having your service advisors know what's going on, the process that happens, is so critical to make it happen.
And having them adequately compensate for that attention.
100%.
You can't break that apart, right? They have to have some skin in the game.
But it has to also be seamless too, because there's a survey on the hook here, okay? And if you're going to promise an appraisal on the vehicle, the appraisal has to be there, because the client's waiting for it.
Yes.
And the advisor's the one that could take the hit. Once or twice after that, they're just going to stop asking.
It has to be efficient and intelligent. You might know something about that, right?
It should be accurate too.
Correct.
It has to be within that range, but the CPRO, customer pay RO, needs to go, as an internal ticket, needs to go back to that advisor.
Correct.
To make sure.
And to the technician too.
Yes.
Otherwise, they'll stop looking as well.
Because then you're penalizing them for doing
If I have to ask the question of our retailers on the panel, and Shon and Ed and Tully, don't be shy about this, all right? What are you doing to integrate that recon timeline with retail pricing? How are you doing that? You know, Brian Kramer has talked about pricing a whole lot over the last couple of years. Shon, maybe an example of some things that you're doing.
Well, I think, first of all, our retail rate is our door rate. I wish it was our warranty rate. Tully and I had that conversation earlier. But our retail rate is our door rate. But we also have to understand that it's about communication and timing, okay? And I know Tully and I are going to be on a panel later about parts acquisition, okay? There's some bad words that go with it, but you got to find the part, because time is everything. And I think communications, you know, Tully has championed the leaderboards, and we have it in all our stores. We have our recon time on the leaderboards. Because everybody needs to know what that means to the dealership, that you can't put the cart out back because you're waiting for a widget that we don't want to pay $10 extra for, when $10 is a couple minutes. The car's in the air, that's when you have to fix it.
So I'll chime in on that as well. We're in the parts and service and sales business.
Correct.
Meaning we're not in the parts or service or sales business. So if a vehicle comes in for service, we acquire it in a service drive, we still should get that parts and service repair as the sale.
Correct.
So it's retail. It's retail across the board, because we're one business operating together, not individual silos fighting against each other.
And I think the thing I'll add to that is you do have an internal advisor that is solely focused on making sure that that car gets in and out in less than 3 days, right? We use 3 days as our number, and there is a bonus tied to it. They're not getting paid on gross or whatever. They're getting paid on cycle time. So that person there is now making sure those jobs get done. The parts are coming. Having the focus of their pay plan on time gets the cars out in time. As a group, we are under 3 days, and that was all because of a pay plan.
I have a lightning round for the group, and I'd love to go down the line starting with Mark. This is a question that I think a lot of dealers are going to be paying attention to, but if you could pick one metric that leaders should be tracking to improve ROI in this part of the fixed ops process, what would it be?
The easy lift. I think that, as Brian Benstock said earlier, the data is where it's at. And if you go towards the data-driven decisions, you can look at repair order count, you can look at inventory history, and you can know month over month what you're selling off the drive. And when you put a new tool in, say you want to go camera to text agent, is it providing lift and result instead of murky ROI or gut feelings? That would be my answer.
David, your lightning round, what one metric should we be looking at?
For acquisition or recon?
For ROI on any part of this fixed ops process?
Well, when it comes to acquisition, I think it's very simply the number of appraisals you're able to deliver. You know, it's interesting, every dealership I speak to says the biggest challenge is acquisition, and I remind them that you're getting 500 internet leads, that you're getting 250 phone calls, you get 150 people walked in, and you have 50 people driving through your drive voluntarily with their car. Every day, 1,000 people. So you have 1,500 to 2,000. The important thing is measuring the facts of what percentage of the total available vehicles, and not the percentage of the cars you sold, or even just the percentage of the cars you wrote up. And as far as recon, it's simple. He said it, put the line in the ground. It's 3 days. We've been talking about it for 35 years. It's probably time to get that figured out. Get the car in and out. The market doesn't care how long it takes you to get your car or how long to get it out of the shop. At 15 days, it's a problem.
It's a huge problem.
Tully, what one metric?
Cycle time, 100% for us. That's all we care about.
Ed,
An hour.
So I'll be a little different on that. It doesn't matter what the KPI is. It matters that you set one and you measure it.
Correct.
Because a lot of times we do something, we throw it out there, we hope that we get a better result, and we have no way of measuring it. It doesn't matter which KPI you chase. One KPI will drive the rest.
And you hold them
Pick
accountable
one,
to it.
set an expectation, and measure against it.
Amen, brother.
Brian.
David Spisak brought up what I thought was the highest ROI impact from acquisition, no question. But I would say, I'm gonna throw this out there, if I was go back into retail tomorrow, the first thing I would be looking at every single day, just like they do in the sales department, is how many website visitors do I have on my service pages? And am I growing it, and what is it month over month? And that's, I think, one of the biggest errors, and it's one of the things that all the marketing departments at all the dealerships don't spend enough money on because they don't track it, it's not top of mind, and it needs to be talked about on a weekly basis.
Mike.
So from acquisition to recondition, I really consider them one and the same. I would say idle time. So we talk about tracking the metrics and cycle time, and they're all great answers and they're all true. But rather than just concentrating on how long it's going to take me to detail or service a car, it's how much time is being wasted through mismanagement or miscommunication or lack of communication at all to even let somebody know that it's time to do work. I think if you concentrate on those little pieces, that will really expose a lot of the greater opportunity. And that's how you can really put the focus on the right areas, because now you have the information and the data that we're all clearly saying we need.
Shon, bring us home.
Pay plans drive behavior. If you want to fix cycle time, you want to fix acquisition, tie your pay plan to it, and it all just fixes itself. That creates accountability.
Well, what a great panel, everybody. With the retail superstars, we are here at Uber headquarters in Manhattan at the World Trade Center. Sarah Van Tine and I are working with some of the best in retail. Sarah and I will be right back. Thanks, Grace.
With the integration of UVI and VA Auto together, it really brings the best of both worlds. It brings you the digital forefront as far as what UVI can bring. It brings you the knowledge and backing of acquisition and everything VA Auto has to incorporate. Having that together allows not only your managers and your acquisition team to do more effectively, you're also catching the customer at the quickest time and turnaround.
That kind of automation, to put it in perspective, if you have $1 million inventory and you have $200,000 that's sitting out there that's not being used, well, today we can get those $200,000 photographed and merchandised instantly. And so what we like is the ability to be able to scan our vehicles as they're coming in. We're able to tag that into our appraisals, our inspection process. This level of detail that it's able to deliver to our team is certainly incredible, and it's the future, and us being able to leverage today's technology to be able to accomplish that is everything that we're looking for.
Understanding that service is really the lifeblood of a lot of brands. It gives you the best fixed absorption, and the biggest pain point has always been that multi-point inspection to make it on a consistent basis.
I'm very excited about the relationship between UVI and VA Auto coming together. It's a perfect relationship where it just makes sense, where the two can work together, where we can get the inspection, the photos, and have it talk and get direct appraisals, which then integrate with VIN Solutions. That entire ecosystem speaks exactly to what we're looking to accomplish. And so the fact that you guys are working together, I think it truly is the next best step for us.
We want to and continue to become that epicenter for automotive education, training, thought leadership, and certainly placement of aspiring students for this industry. But it really is our silent kickoff party, as you're going to hear more and more about Northwood University Center for Automotive and Mobility Studies. It's a remarkable testament to the power of relationships and moreover friendships. And today we've got remarkable panelists discussing all arrays of the automotive retail and aftermarket sectors.
When the next generation millennials and Gen Zs are entering the workforce, they want to know more about career development, professional development. Where do I go from here?
Stay curious. Our industry is changing so fast, and I know that the technology that's out there is going to change the way we look at the world very, very soon.
I think when we look at each other for solutions, you get incremental growth, but when you look outside the industry and look at what the big aggregators are doing, you can get exponential growth.
You can leave here and you can get taught all this great stuff by the school, but what's going to separate you guys is the first link in the chain. It's your willingness to activate it.
Chin up. We've got an interview with Chris Walsh of Reynolds and Reynolds, along with Sarah and Ted.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. We are at Uber World Headquarters here in New York City at the World Trade Center. And Ted, we have Chris Walsh with us from Reynolds and Reynolds today.
A great honor to welcome Chris Walsh back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And Chris, congratulations, President and now acting CEO of Reynolds and Reynolds.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm a big fan of your event.
Oh, thank you so much for all you do for fixed operations.
You're welcome.
Chris, congratulations. You've been recently named acting CEO for Reynolds and Reynolds. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you have planned.
Well, I've been with Reynolds for 38 years, so I come from the Reynolds side of things. When UCS bought Reynolds, I came from the Reynolds side of things. And I've done lots of different jobs at Reynolds, from customer support all the way up into, sales leadership. And so, I don't know, a lot of times I think I just can't hold down a job. Everything's been like 2 years, and then I move into something else. But I've done a lot of things within Reynolds, and I'm just fortunate to have the opportunity to have a greater voice and influence on what we can do going forward as a company. I think we've got tremendous opportunity to evolve as an organization, to be more customer focused, to be a bigger part of the industry, to participate at events like this and learn and hopefully contribute something to it. So just excited to be a part of that.
Chris, how would you describe your leadership style, and what does being that leader mean to you?
We had a CEO quite a few years back. His name was Finbar O'Neill, and he was the first CEO that I had the opportunity to actually spend any time with. And he explained to me this philosophy of servant leadership. And he not only explained it to me, like he walked it, like he led that way. And it just kind of always stuck with me that my job is to, empower people. My job is to develop people. My job is to remove obstacles that are preventing us from being more successful, that are preventing our customers from being more successful. So I would say that is my style.
Well, Chris, let's talk about how you've been helping dealerships. There are some really incredible pieces that were started under your leadership at Reynolds and Reynolds. First, Spark AI was created, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, Spark AI is really the underlying data layer that powers all of our AI tools. We really wanted to approach AI not in a silo, not building a business office AI and fixed stops and sales and F&I, but to build this unified data layer that all these tools can not only pull from, but then can repopulate with data as they learn, and that layer becomes even more powerful. So we're all in on AI and embedding AI, not just as a product, but the functionality into a lot of our products right now. So we certainly realize the importance of it, the impact that it can have. So we're pretty excited about what we're doing there.
Well, and I'd love to hear too, Curator and then also the Reynolds Performance Manager Program.
So Curator is an intelligence tool that was built by our Gubagoo partners. If you remember Gubagoo, we bought them, best name ever to say. We bought them a few years back, and Brad Title, who was the president of Gubagoo, that some of you may know, he stayed on board. And Brad, this was really Brad's vision of not only this, but our next generation CRM. How do we combine the transactional information, the DMS, the demographic and behavioral data in the CRM, and then even getting into first-party data, for customers that are on the website or e-commerce platform. Combine that all into one single pane of glass that you're looking at a customer through to understand, lifetime value, where they are on their journey, what they're likely to do next. And when you market to them, Brian had a screen up there. I don't remember exactly what the screen said, but more relevant messaging to consumers. So you understand exactly where they are. So you're not sending them a message that really has nothing to do with what they're likely to do next. Kind of fixing that problem.
And we heard a little bit about the Performance Manager Program when we met some of your performance managers at Northwood University. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this was, so I guess 6 years ago when we had a leadership change and I was asked to take on a bigger role, I had been outside of the DMS business for about 12 years. So I felt like I had to relearn it. So the way I relearned it was I began to travel around the country and talk to customers. So one of the first places I went to was New Jersey. And to go and ask people what they think about you, I don't recommend you go to New Jersey. Yeah, I would have gone to like Charlotte, or someplace else. But I went to New Jersey, so I was there, and I was with a large customer, and he was talking about lots of different things that he felt we could do better as a company. And he was New Jersey, so he's very animated. His face was red. He was talking loud. And then he began to talk about this woman who works at Reynolds, and I didn't know who she was. And he said her name is Javon. And so I asked what she did for his organization, and she said she is my performance manager. And what was interesting to me is his body language completely changed when he started to talk about her. And he calmed down, he was smiling, and he talked about how valuable she was to his organization, how she was this trusted advisor and helped him utilize the products that they have from Reynolds, better than they did the day before, the week before. And it doesn't take much to connect the dots and say, we should do more of these kinds of things. Every customer that we have should feel this way about one of our Reynolds associates and should feel like we are investing in helping them use the products and services that you choose to invest with us, better than you had before.
And Chris, last year, you had us into Reynolds headquarters in Dayton, and we got a chance to see your innovation center. Very impressive. And we learned about things like e-contracting and your digital retailing. If you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, when I was back 6 years ago, I was seeing a customer, and e-contracting came up, and I knew what e-contracting was. What I didn't really know is the economic impact to a dealer if he's really fully embraced e-contracting and taking his contracts in transit from 11 days to 4 days or whatever number he wants to go from and to. And he started whiteboarding it to me of the money, this many cars, this is my, they were just doing all the math for me. And it didn't take long to look at that and say, okay, e-contracting should be a top 5 project within Reynolds because I think it adds, so much more value. But let's not think of 4 days. Let's look at 4 hours. Like, what's the art of what's possible here? And doing something differently. And digital retailing, I think is more these days, how do you connect a digital shopper to an analog or an in-store shopper and make it feel like it's one experience for them, not two disparate experiences where they go from online shopper, come in the store, and it's like a new sales process has started. How do we connect that and make it more seamless for the consumer?
And finally, Chris, most recently on the fixed operations side, you've introduced robotics into fixed operations, particularly to help get those hours sold at dealerships by getting the parts out to the technicians with Relo, that new product. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. I don't know anyone else that's doing this in retailers right now, but how do we connect the dots between delivering a part from the parts department to a technician? And is it possible to do that without a human being having to do it? It doesn't mean you don't have that human being. Maybe that person gets kind of repurposed or reskilled into something else that can add more value to the dealership. But how can we improve that workflow to make it completely integrated from the service advisor through the parts department into the technician's bay, get the parts there quicker, more accurately, and then the robot goes back and moves on to the next job. So it's pretty exciting to see it. I know Ed is helping us pilot it and just understand, do we have it right? What could we do better? How does the workflow actually work? Is it, in a real dealership environment, in a real service workflow, is it do what it needs to do? So we're pretty excited about it.
Well, Chris, on behalf of Sarah and myself, I want to say thank you for all you do for the industry, in particular fixed operations.
You're welcome.
And thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
Chris Walsh, everybody. Thank you.
Nice to finally meet you.
Meet Relo, the automated parts runner designed to minimize technician downtime and streamline service operations. Today, we're going to walk through exactly how Relo works, step by step. It all starts here. The technician completes an inspection and recommends work for the vehicle. The advisor sends the estimate to the customer using e-approval. Once approved, the parts department is notified and can begin fulfilling the order. The parts counter person gathers the required parts and places them on parts rack 1. Most dealerships will have multiple racks, and one Relo can handle deliveries from unlimited racks to unlimited bays. Once the parts are ready, the counter person assigns a delivery directly from the parts application in Era Ignite. Relo autonomously navigates to the designated bay, avoiding obstacles along the way. You never have to worry about Relo getting stuck, running into objects, or needing manual assistance. It can easily maneuver a variety of indoor spaces. Once it arrives at the service bay, the technician retrieves the parts without ever leaving their workspace. It's designed to operate independently and keep your service department running smoothly. When Relo needs a charge, it automatically returns to its docking station. On average, Relo's battery lasts 12 hours, ensuring it's available throughout the workday. With a load capacity of 660 pounds, Relo can transport anything from small parts to full sets of tires. Relo is changing the way dealerships operate by minimizing technician downtime and optimizing service efficiency.
Get up and go with the Go Trego panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings, and today we have the Go Trego panel. Ted, I'm really excited about all that we're going to unpack today.
Sarah, that's right. We have two great colleagues, friends with us, both Cobi Collins and Mike Grubich from Go Trego. Cobi and Mike, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks so much, Ted and Sarah.
Congratulations to both of you on the success Go Trego is having. We're seeing more and more of Go Trego throughout the industry. Today, we want to focus in, Cobi, a little bit on leadership. And I want to ask the first question of you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Why is that leadership gap such a critical issue in today's retail automotive industry?
Great question. Thank you. Yes, we are seeing a leadership gap. We are hearing from our clients and prospects that they're struggling to find great people for their teams. And if we think about what's going on in the industry today, in the world really today, is that there is a requirement for adaptation. There is a requirement for growth and innovation. If we don't innovate and adapt, we die. And so it's really critical that as we're seeing this industry navigating rapid change, right? EV innovations, consumer expectations, workforce transitions, we lack a clear bench for the future of the organization. How do we future proof the company? And how do we do it by hiring from within? Do we know who the leaders are? And historically, if we look back at the 20s, the time is so similar. The requirement, the push for innovation, it was so huge in the 20s. It was actually seen, Ted, as being rebellious, the innovation that had to happen. And so that's what we're looking at, is how can we rebel against traditional ways of doing things, traditional ways of looking for leaders? Do they just show up? Well, no, we have to know what's under the hood. We have to know what they were built to do. And so sometimes they just naturally rise to the top, but can we uncover that in our team? And so General Motors, when Alfred Sloan was leading, really succeeded in the 20s by grooming internal leaders who deeply understood their divisions. So Sloan promoted divisional managers into actually executive roles, really building a leadership structure that could scale the business while it stayed agile. It didn't get stale and heavy and unable to adapt to what was coming. And then what happened was GM surpassed Ford in market share at that point. And so as we look to our auto dealerships, do they need to surpass market share of their direct competitors? Well, we hope that's what they're after. We hope they're after greater success. But you have to have tools that help you understand who's currently on your team. You might have a hidden gem that we need to polish up a little bit and bring to the top.
Michael, Cobi is right. Leadership and looking within. Anything you want to add on that leadership?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is that, people leave leaders, they don't leave organizations.
Yeah.
And so you need to have a foundation of good leadership in your company. Turnover is always a challenge in any industry, but especially in the auto industry. People leave leaders, not organizations.
Mike, and that's such an incredible point. And just to really draw back onto what Cobi said, how can hiring from within help solve this leadership shortage?
Yeah, that another great point to discuss. One of the biggest things that we see is time to competence. When you bring someone external, they have to fight through their experiences in other companies, get used to the new culture, get to know the processes in the company. Most leadership roles, time to competence is about 18 months. Where you bring someone in from the internal, they know most of that, and they tend to hit the ground running literally in those roles. And there's still time, right? But it's probably about 50%, if not even 60% less time for the person to become competent in that role. You also build loyalty with the brand and the organization. If people know that they're going to have an opportunity to grow their compensation level, their responsibility level, their impact, they commit to that company. And by the way, they tell others about that too. And so you become an attractive place for individuals. When you promote internally, the other thing that we see a lot is hiring costs get reduced really quickly. You're not having to recruit, so you're not having to pay recruiting costs. You're not having to spend time interviewing because you have the people internally. The process goes a lot quicker. Looking back, I have a couple of historical reference and a current reference. Looking back at Buick and Walter Chrysler, they built that empire using methods that looked at bringing people up through the ranks. So people knew the brand. They were passionate about the brand. They felt like they were part of the organization, not just a step in their journey. And that helps with both innovation, quality, customer service, cost management, sustainable performance. When you look currently as we work with organizations, we see recruiting costs going down, that ramp up time going down. We see 75% faster fill of roles because they're looking internally versus the external process. We see productivity gets dropped by sometimes 30 to 40%, or it improves by 30 to 40% because the time to competence is so much quicker and you can fill the jobs quicker. And we see faster time to fill rates. So hiring from within not only solves a leadership shortage, but it really strengthens your retention in the organization as well. You become an employer of choice when you promote internally.
Cobi, it sounds like there's a lot of really great lessons from Walter Chrysler, and then some today's successes as well.
It's really true. As we look around, there's some dealerships in Texas that are just really knocking it out of the park. And it's amazing because, again, they're looking ahead. They're not just addressing the immediate needs. They're looking into the future, and they're saying what might come next. If we're good at what we're seeing come down the pipeline now and we're preparing for it, what's next? And how do we make our people feel so valued they don't want to go anywhere else? How do we make sure that leadership is mentoring? How do we make sure that that we're really connecting, that we're understanding that while we don't have a bunch of time to custom tailor every training program, are we actually recognizing the moment somebody comes in the door onto our team? Do we put them on a leadership path? Do we know who should manage people and who shouldn't? Who we need to be a knowledge leader, who we need to be a team leader, an experienced leader, and who should be a people leader. So those folks who are really staying ahead of this and who are continuing to recognize that their people are their greatest asset, these are the dealerships we are seeing really just surpass companies 3 and 4 times their size.
Mike, as we look around the industry, it seems the best dealerships not only hire and promote from within, but that high potential talent comes from within as well. They don't go to the outside to bring those folks in. So I got to ask you, Mike, how do you identify that high potential person, that internal talent, someone you've already got working for you as a candidate for leadership roles?
Yeah, it's a great question. And this is where assessments become such a critical tool. They help break down some of those traits and behaviors and experiences and aspirations that don't always come out right away. So it helps you break that down a little bit more. And we have found, especially from a leadership point of view, there are a few behaviors and traits that are really important. One is humility. Good leaders are humble. And so as you look for talent, who's that individual who can understand and admit when they maybe don't know something or can make a mistake. And the second is there's an agility to them. That means that they will learn, they want to learn, and then they adapt. Right? It's one thing to know, I don't do that well, or I'm not very strategic, or I don't handle this situation well. So to understand that's really good. But then the change becomes the other piece. So do you see that agility in people? And the third element is that they think systematically. And as you grow people through the organization, they know that if I make a decision on the service side, how does it impact the sales side? How does it impact the estimator side? How does it impact the technician? How does it impact the customer? So they see how their decisions influence the system. That's why building from within is so important. Henry Ford put a focus on that. His team and leaders on his team were mechanics that grew through the ranks. They were salespeople that grew through the ranks. They knew how to put a tire on a car, and now they know how to grow the business and build around the technical structure and the customer structure. That's a real key to it. And it is, the other thing I would say is it's taking the time to talk and learn and understand your people. What are their aspirations? What do they like to do? Give them feedback on what they can develop. Those kind of mechanisms really help with your ability to not only identify but develop. Companies today that do that, they're promoting into leadership roles. The best practices are 75 to 80% of leadership roles are filled internally. Companies that do that demonstrate sustained results over the years. Their retention numbers are really good. Their service numbers are good. Their safety numbers are good. And when you have all those good numbers, your costs go dramatically down. So, but it really gets back to get data on people and then talk to them and look for those traits that you deem as important.
Cobi, do you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, actually, Mike, that's such a good point, because when you do that, when you have conversation, right, we want to see the human aspect stay throughout this. Yes, you can use automated tools that help you evaluate, but people aren't just a set of metrics. They have thoughts that your metrics don't measure. They have innovative ideas that you can't just see in a performance evaluation. And so you need to understand them at a deeper level. And when you're hiring from within, when you're training up through the ranks, now you've got folks who are deeply loyal insiders who have a shared vision. I mean, there are folks who work for who are, building the Mustang. I was just at a Mustang car show this last weekend, and it's really unbelievable the culture that's been built around that and how people feel about the Mustang. But there are kids who started looking at Mustang when they were in elementary school, and now one of them is the chief engineer on Project Mustang, because he started as such a young person and who was determined to work for the organization and on the project of this car he loved so deeply. And he had one of the most successful runs as their chief engineer and is now leading multiple global projects for them. So you start bringing people up through the ranks and preparing them, you build this deep loyalty, and they have the vision of the organization. We all know the car industry is a little bit different. You really have to be passionate about and understand the mechanics and the emotion that your clients are after when they sit in one of your vehicles.
On Cobi, on the leadership topic, you just shared such an incredible story, but there's a lot of organizations that struggle with that internal mentoring structure. How do I get started with it? What are some of the checkpoints? So what do you see as successful internal mentoring, and how does it look in today's dealership or manufacturing environment?
I love this question because mentorship is not always a natural thing that leaders do. It has to be intentional. And so successful mentoring pairs emerging leaders with those who are experienced, who are good guides and good teachers, who can actually transfer hard skills, evaluate and train soft skills, as well as company wisdom. So all of those things need to get passed down, all three of those things. People have to fit the company, the culture, and the job itself. And then they have to have someone mentor them and bring them along the way so that the baton gets passed successfully and that there's not a fumbling transition, right? And so coaching and decision-making, customer experience, conflict resolution, not everyone today is great at conflict resolution. That has to be trained. And they also have to have financial acumen. If we're looking at early talent coming out of college today, they actually struggle with the financial side of business. It is not something that they are super familiar with unless they're a finance major. And so we've got folks who are wanting to be GMs and sales managers, but they need that financial training. And so it doesn't mean they can't learn it. They just didn't get it in school. They don't have the practical application side of it because school's just not talking about that today. And so you can retrain that or train it for the first time inside the organization if you recognize who you should be spending that time with and know who to bring up into that leadership role and help them with this. One of my favorite examples is the Duesenberg brothers. They actually mentored craftsmen and engineers. So what happened then is you've got high performance with precision craftsmanship, and they created this talent pipeline inside their own company. It was really cool. And these folks built some of the most iconic luxury cars of the era. May or may not remember. I'm sure everybody on this in this roundtable knows the Model J, but they didn't recruit stars to build the Model J. They mentored tradesmen and leaders in engineering excellence. And that's how they were able to put forth the very best vehicles. And so that's the manufacturing side. But I think it absolutely still applies to the dealership and the customer service and sales side of auto dealerships today.
Mike, what other checkpoints along the way should dealerships be looking at when it comes to successful internal mentoring?
Yeah, Sarah, the one thing I would add is take time to understand what aspirations of people, what are things that they want to do. Don't just assume that everyone wants to expand and grow outside of their area. Some might just want to be a really good technician or a really good salesperson, right? And so make connections with them on how understanding the holistic business can help them in those roles. And if they want to expand and get and increase scope or increase their influence, get them to understand how what the decisions they make or the things they do influence the rest of the organization, so they can start to make those connections. It's mentoring this day and age, that when you look at the generations in the workplace, especially the younger generations, they value coaching and mentoring. They love getting advice from people who have experience, especially your Gen Y or your millennial and your Gen Z. And now we have the Alpha Gen coming into the workplace soon. They value mentorship and coaching. So if you can provide that and get managers who are good at it, people are going to stick around. And you're going to find what earlier we talked about, those diamonds in the rough, or the talent that's deep in the organization. That's how you find it.
Is through that mentorship. Mike, you said something really important that I want to touch on really quick. We lead through our own lens. Oftentimes we believe that because we are expansive, progressive people, so are everyone else. Sometimes people's idea and preference for expansion or growth is to become a true master in the one thing that they do really well. And they're not looking to lead other people. They're not looking to have a higher title in an organization, but they just want to master what they're doing. And that can be confusing to us. We can think, well, who wouldn't want to be a GM? I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? It expands your reach, it increases your income. Not everybody wants that. And so we have to know, what do people want? What were they built to do? Were they built to race independently? Were they built as a tow truck? What were they created to do? And now let's help them do that really well inside the organization so they can thrive.
Cobi and Mike, I think the good news, and Sarah, is that we are in a people business. We're squarely in the people business. The car business is all about the people, and Trego is all about the people. Last question, if I can, lightning round, come to both of you, Mike first and then Cobi. For the audience watching today, dealers, managers at retail, what's the long-term business value of investing? We always hear, we're going to invest. Here we are investing in our people. And in internal leadership development, what's the long-term value, the ROI on that? Mike first, and then Cobi.
Yeah, so we recently did a study on 15 of our top dealer partners. We found turnover for them in their sales, service, and technician area is 18%, is what we're seeing. You're seeing more car sales, you're seeing more efficiency. But the biggest one that I'll point to is the retention piece, because we know that's a challenge. And investing in your leaders, understanding where they have development gaps, getting them that development they need, is going to improve your ability to retain talent. That keeps the knowledge internal. That sets you up for a sustained pipeline of talent that you can put into leadership roles in the future. And it significantly reduces your cost. So those are some of the real practical things that we're seeing in organizations that put the time and effort into the leadership development. I will say the one thing you have to do is, if you're going to do it, you have to be intentional, and you have to be genuine about it, because people will see through it if you're not careful with that. And those organizations that are doing it and doing it well, they're reaping the benefits, definitely.
Yeah, and they've got coaches to do it. The other thing that I really see as a business value of investing in leadership development is that it prepares your organization to handle disruption. Brian Benstock, I feel like, has been on a crusade to really talk about the value of disruption. Yeah. And when you disrupt in the right ways, and when you cause those waves in an industry, and your people are not afraid to take risks. They will take risks for you if they know you're going to catch them if they fall. Because failure is going to happen when you cause disruption. But we're talking about being prepared to cause disruption and giving your people the confidence inside the organization to know that you will catch them if they fall. and that together you will succeed and fail forward. And it's key for long-term competitiveness. It also builds lifetime customers inside a dealership. When they see a dealership is not getting stale, when they see the same faces when they come back in, now your customers are loyal because they have confidence that they don't have to keep telling their story over and over every time they come in. You know who they are. We all want to be known, right? Your dealership could be the Cheers of the auto industry. And people are known and they know their service people. Now they trust you and they're not going anywhere else. So it's about preparation and building loyalty.
Yeah,
Ted, it's in part of my career. I worked for Fiat Chrysler, in HR for Fiat Chrysler, and Sergio Marchioni, who was the CEO at the time, and we were doing succession planning. We were actually in Brazil touring a depot, a distribution center for a parts distribution center, and we are talking about what he looks for in effective leaders in his organizations, and certainly he listed a lot of the things that all of us think about, but one of the ones that he really brought out was resilience. He's like, I want resilient leaders because things are going to go wrong and your feelings can't get hurt when they go wrong. You got to be able to adapt and adjust and fix it and move forward. Right. And he looked for that in people. And I do believe that if you build leadership capability and you do all the things that we've been talking about, people build confidence in the organization, which naturally grows a resilience because they know that if something doesn't go right, the organization is going to back them up and you fix it and you move forward. So that resilience is a big foundational piece for leaders, especially because there's going to be good days and bad days, and you want leaders who can work through those.
Mike, that's such a great point. Talking about resilience, it's critical, right? If we are in an age of innovation and disruption, you have to have people who are adaptable and resilient.
Good point.
And are okay, right, when they skin their knees. But Mike, we talked about these all kind of on a theoretical level. We've got great examples in the auto industry. I think there are few industries that have decades of really hard data and examples to follow. But Mike, what would you say to a fixed ops director or a GM who's watching us today? What would you say to, how do you go about doing this? How can you be intentional?
Yeah. First thing, I think the biggest thing I would say is, first of all, you need courage. You need the courage to say what's on your mind or to interject if you think something's not right. And so you got to build that confidence with courage. And you have to be someone who can admit, I don't know something, and then do something about it, right? And be agile enough to learn and then apply what you've learned. So you have to have the courage and transparency, and then be open to admit, all right, I got to get better at this, and commit to it, go after it.
Everybody go Trego, the leader in our business, in our industry, at helping dealerships, retail dealerships for a long time, build their people and build their future leaders. Mike Grubich and Cobi Collins, thank you so much for all you do. Mike, if our audience wants to learn more about Go Trego, maybe have some questions answered as to how specific things might work for them. Mike, what's the best way for people to reach out who are watching us here today?
Yeah, two ways. Go at our website, gotrego.com, and you can reach out to us that way, or send me an email. It's Mikeg, Mikeg at gotrego.com. We'll reach out. Love to hear your stories. We want to be there to help in any way that we can.
You can see it scrolling down below, everybody. Go Trego.com, and Mike G, that's Mike Grubich. Mike G at gotrego.com. Cobi Collins and Mike Grubich, thank you for all you do for the industry. And I'm sure a lot ahead with Go Trego. And thank you for being a certified partner for the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and many, many pop-up events ahead for all of us. So on behalf of Sarah Van Tyne, I'm Ted Ings, and Go Trego with us here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
Take care.
Do you want to provide your customers with an exceptional car buying journey rather than just a transaction? As Carl Sewell advocates in his book, Customers for Life, the key to ensuring customer loyalty lies in delivering an enjoyable and memorable experience. And that starts with assembling the right team. But how do you guarantee that you're hiring the best talent for the job? According to Sewell, one of the most effective methods is using a pre-employment assessment called the Trego Personnel Survey, which consistently identifies top talent and transforms company culture. While many dealerships recognize the importance of recruiting top talent, the challenge lies in identifying such talent during the hiring process. Enter Go Trego. With over 40 years of research and expertise in the auto industry, Dr. Trego and his team have been instrumental in helping clients like Sewell and many others figure out if the applicant can and will do the job. We adopt a scientific approach to evaluating candidates' behaviors and accurately predicting their job performance. Say goodbye to the frustrations of dealing with subpar hires. With Go Trego, you can transform your staff into the happiest, friendliest, and most reliable team your customers have ever encountered, ensuring customers for life. Let Go Trego guide you in selecting the perfect talent for your organization.
Go, 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 go. Hey, how would you like to pay? Card, cash, or check?
I will do a card.
Okay, thank you very much. And will you sign right here?
Sure.
Okay, have a great day.
Great, thank you.
Introducing Dealer Pay Moves, Dealer Pay's new mobile application for dealerships on the move. It's really great because all you have to do is search for your repair order. It's then going to search whichever DMS that the dealership is connected to. As you can see, it's going to pull up that customer record in that open repair order. I'm simply going to select it. Now you've got all your customer details here, including the surcharge amount if it were to be applied with a credit card. I've got options to pay by credit debit. I can key enter the transaction. I can use a paper check or even report cash. I can even add transactions in here so I can do some real-time voids and refunds. Dealer Pay Moves is a great solution for your dealership to stay relevant and mobile.
We're roaring for Rohrman at one of our latest pop-up events up next.
Welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we are at Shamberg Honda, part of the Rohrman Automotive Group. And Ted, we have quite the agenda today for this pop-up event.
We do, Sarah, and we're really honored that Shamberg Honda has had us in. Matt Ashford is the general manager. Matt, thank you so much for giving us this.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great to have you guys here, and we are super excited. Obviously we have our new facility right now, and we are just excited as heck. We're actually kind of almost to our 1-year anniversary. It feels like it was just yesterday when we opened the doors to it, but really fantastic, to have you guys here and see our beautiful facility.
This has got to be one of the most impressive Honda facilities that I've ever seen. I mean, magnificent what you've got, not only in terms of fixed operations, but the showroom, inventory, and just everything to accommodate the customer.
Yeah, when we built this, and the great thing about this dealership is that this is the last blueprints that Mr. Rohrman had his hands on. So this is kind of his last, beacon of the Rohrman Automotive Group, and it's something that we hold with great pride. And for our customers, we really built this, and as employees, we get to enjoy it and work in it every day. But as our customers come, we get a lot of that, like, wow, this place is amazing. Wow, it feels like a hotel, or whatever. And that is really the greatest compliment, to Mr. Rohrman and to ourselves, that we built a facility that the employees and the customers can really enjoy. But it is a magnificent building, and I don't know if there'll ever be one built like it again. So we're pretty excited to have it.
Matt, we're very honored to be here today, and I want to pivot a little bit to highlight because Shamberg Honda and the Rohrman Automotive Group are really known for their people and the incredible team that you have. So, what can we expect to hear from your team today?
That's a good question. But I think what you'll hope to hear is that they are really happy to work here. I think it's a privilege and, that they are proud to work at the Rohrman organization. And, in the automobile business, we often struggle with, the opinion of, oh, you're a salesman, or you're a this, or you're a that. And I think when you say that you work for the Rohrman Automotive Group, that you can carry that with pride. And I hope that, my employees will carry that today. And I think that you'll hear that come through in many of their comments and statements today.
And you yourself have had an amazing career with Rohrman. Tell us a little bit about that, because we got some insight yesterday.
Yeah, it's truly been a blessed ride. I cannot disagree. I've got 29 years now with the Rohrman Automotive Group. I started out as a salesperson in 1996. In 1998, I was moved into the finance office, where I spent about 20 years. And then, I've eventually moved into the finance director role and then into the general manager role over the last 4.5 years. So it has truly been a magnificent ride, one that is not easily comprehended some days. I wake up some mornings and it's been almost 3 decades that I've been coming to this building, and I really, it's truly a privilege.
Well, Sarah and I are going to get a chance to meet your people today.
Fantastic.
A lot of the unsung heroes of fixed operations, service, parts, BDC, and throughout. So, again, very honored to have us here, and looking forward to all that's going to happen here.
Well, I can't wait for you to meet my unsung heroes, because they are rock stars.
All right. I'm Ted Ings. I'm here with Sarah Van Tyne. We are here at Shamberg Honda, part of the Rohrman Automotive Group. Sarah and I will be right back.
Hear about the swankified culture of Rohrman Automotive in our next segment.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings. Today we are at Shamberg Honda, part of the Rohrman Automotive Group. And Ted, these gentlemen have some incredible insights to share with us today.
Sarah, that's right. We have 2 leaders here at Shamberg Honda. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. Tell us who you are, gentlemen, and what you do.
My name is Omar Shabaz, Service Director here at Shamberg Honda.
And Omar, how long?
Just about 32 years.
And I'm Matt Ashford, and I'm the General Manager, and I've been here about 29 years now.
Gentlemen, some questions for you today. Sarah and I want to ask you about the culture here at Shamberg Honda and at Rohrman. If you had to sum up Rohrman Automotive's culture in just a few words, Matt, how would you describe it?
I think it starts with one of our core statements, and part of that is called, driving relationships. And I think that not only driving relationships with your customers, but driving relationships with your employees, learning about them, understanding their issues outside of the workplace, and working with those to make sure that they can become professionals and exceed their expectations at work. I think when you drive the relationship with your employee as much as you drive the relationship with your customers, that's a winning statement about our culture.
Omar? Awesome experiences to go along with that. And awesome experiences doesn't have to be like a customer coming in and having a great experience. It of course takes into that. But again, we started off with Matt. It starts at home. It starts right here in the facility with the people that we work with. We've been working with people for a long, long time, and we have to have awesome experiences together here as a family. And once we achieve that, then we can give the awesome experience to the client, and that's where everything really comes together. So it's all got to start in house.
Sure.
Matt and Omar, both of you have been part of the Rohrman Group for a long time, and I'm sure there's different things when new hires come in and you have new employees that join the organization. There's elements that surprise them. So what's one thing, Matt, that has surprised you or other employees the most about working here?
I think when a new employee comes in and they start finding out how long some of our employees have been here, and most of our employees have been here, that is a eye-opening thing. You know, when you come into a new place, you don't always know that the person you're going to be working next to has 10 years or 12 years at the facility or 20 years. And I think that that's certainly a comforting factor for a new employee, as well as you know, encouraging that they could become that 10-year employee, and that they haven't just started a venture where, you know, if you sat down next to somebody and it's like, hey, it's my first day, and the person next to you is, oh, it's my second week, you know, you start to feel a little bit like, well, where did I join, you know? But I think when you sit down, or when you get started with, you know, us at the Rohrman organization, and you start seeing so much senior leadership and so much, you know, longevity, I think that puts the salesperson, or, well, excuse me, any employee at ease.
Omar, what have you seen that has surprised people the most?
I'm just going to follow Matt with that lead. It really is. People think that the industry is you know, kind of a revolving door, and it's not. You know, people make their livelihoods out of this, their careers out of this. And this is what puts, you know, everybody on the map. And there are, in the Rohrman organization, so many people that are 10, 20, 30, 40 years plus in here. I mean, it's what really makes this organization such a tight-knit family. And that's really a cool thing about us.
Yeah, that's when you say career, I think that's what changes it from a job to a career.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what, you know, sometimes when you're just starting, it feels like just the job. But when you see that there are people who've made a career out of it, that's when maybe you turn the switch, you know, from job to career.
Sure. And it's so different every day. I mean, you guys have been doing this for a long time yourselves. It's different every day. As much as you think it's the same, it is.
Yes, it is.
Every single day.
For sure. Something new every day.
Yeah, it keeps everything just moving along.
Matt, for the folks at home who may not know, approximately how many rooftops for Rohrman?
So 20 rooftops across 3 states, 1 in Wisconsin, and then kind of evenly split between Indiana and Illinois. So yeah, there's quite a few rooftops. It definitely spreads us out quite a ways, all the way from Indianapolis to Fort Wayne in Indiana. There's Lafayette hub. It goes all the way up to Kenosha, and then there's kind of a section here in Shamberg, of course, and then we got Oak Brook Toyota, and we've got some Gurney stores as well in Gurney, Illinois.
So Matt, how do you keep team energy so high across so many locations and do it consistently?
Yeah, I think that really starts, you know, from our CEO, Ryan Rohrman, and it starts from the top down into the directors. You know, there are, you know, Chase and Trey and Luke that are our primary directors of sales. And then that kind of leads into my role as general manager. And I think that when you start from the top, and that the energy level and the excitement level of coming to work every day is bled into the, you know, the top tier at the dealership, each individual level, I think that is, you know, contagious. And I believe that can across all rooftops. If you're strong at the top, then you know, being strong throughout the entire organization, that's where it really starts.
And Omar, that energy, how do you guys do that?
Fun. We have to have fun. You cannot lose sight of that. As hard as everybody works in every dealership, as hard as, you know, sales, parts, service, porters, you name it. I mean, again, this is a tough gig. And you have to have fun. As long as you have fun, I'm telling you, it just flows. It really, really does. I think you're going to find a consistent theme about that as you speak with people tonight.
I can always tell when the store's having a good day when I walk from department to department and I hear laughter. You know, because laughter really shows the sign that people are happy. We're having a good time, and you know, the work is happening with laughter. That's when my store is really singing.
And that's got to rub off on your customers too.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I sure hope so. Yeah, I mean, I see so many of my employees walking through with smiles, and you know, when you do make that eye contact of a customer just sitting there in the waiting area, or a customer that you're walking by that may be closing a deal, and you just say, "Hey, how you doing?" and you give them that smile, it's truly remarkable the way they just wake up to you. And I think that energy certainly is again contagious with our customers as well as our employees.
You might have a song or something playing over the radio. You have a couple employees kind of dancing through the halls. The next thing you know, you got customers that are singing along with you, dancing through you know, that's when you know it's good. You know, it makes it a really, really good time.
Well, and this fun that's part of Rohrman, it really comes down to the culture that you've built. And it's an incredible opportunity for your employees. And like you've mentioned, your customers. But what's the secret to keeping it consistent while letting each store have its own personality?
Yeah. Obviously every store really deals with its own, individual challenges, in wherever it may be. And I think that you have to allow for a certain amount of course, variableness in your day-to-day operations, because that is where, the rubber meets the road, so to speak. But I think that if you are, as far as keeping the culture, true, I think you have to be, true to your statements and make sure that your entire employees know. For our example, ours is tips. Transparency, innovation, personable, and servant-minded. So if those 4 qualities are in each store, the variableness of that occurring over, 20 different rooftops doesn't change that much. So if you're transparent, you're innovative, you're personable, and you're servant-minded, both with your employee and your customer, I think that's how you keep your culture consistent, by making sure that you're true to those statements, and then allowing the day-to-day variableness of the toughness of whatever that store is dealing with on that particular day to operate with underneath those principles. You're going to be okay with your culture.
Remember, this family here, we spend more time with this family than we do our regular families.
Sure.
And we're going to fight like siblings do, but you have to get over it, right? So it's just like any other family. You have a great time together, you fight together, and you get over it, and you have more good times. And with that good times really comes just a blossoming everything. It really is. It's a lot of fun. That's why you find the longevity, I think, just because everybody has a good time at what they do. And when you have a good time at what you do, things happen. Things happen.
And you gentlemen and your team definitely make things happen. We can see that. And Sarah Van Tine and I are very, very pleased that we are spending some time with you, learning about the culture at the Rohrman Automotive Group. We are at Shamberg Honda. Sarah and I will be right back.
You might have noticed that Ted and I are on the move, and that's because we are now hosting Fixed Ops Roundtable pop-up events. We are on our way to a dealership near you with spontaneous events in amazing dealership spaces to highlight the people in retail service, parts, and dealerships worldwide. Stay up to date where we're headed next by following the Fixed Ops Roundtable on social media.
Ready to hear the rumble on everything Fixed Ops? Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Roaring 20s Second Swing event.
Up next, we have SimplePart from Infomedia.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Online e-commerce parts is particularly hot right now, and it is a growing segment in all of e-commerce. We have with us today Dan DuPree. He's the Vice President of Product at SimplePart. They are part, no pun intended, of the Infomedia family. And Dan, I want to welcome you to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Appreciate it, Ted. Thanks for having me.
As I mentioned, extremely timely. Okay, we're hearing a lot about parts, e-commerce. Many dealers now getting quite deep into e-commerce. It's a growing area, tens of billions of dollars out there. And if you don't mind, maybe give us the lay of the land to kind of start out, why and how is it important for a fixed ops department right now to have a digital parts and accessories solution that's also built with the importance of dealer profitability?
Yeah, absolutely, Ted. Yeah, I think as exactly as you said, really, our space picked up a lot of pace during COVID and has continued to carry forward post COVID, and the opportunity is huge. I think ultimately, where we see the opportunity for any dealer, regardless of if they're participating, if they're selling online now, whether that's direct to customers or through a marketplace, is basically is looking at this and how can we make sure that you at the dealership where you are in your journey with the e-commerce platform is how can we help you get the most out of that from a profitability perspective. I think one of the key items that we come across when we speak with dealers who've been very experienced selling online, often through marketplaces like eBay and Amazon, which we of course our product does have plugins for, so there's nothing wrong with eBay or Amazon. But what we want to really look into is where does that customer belong, and what sort of meat on the bone is there left for you at the dealership. And what we really try to focus on with our platform is making sure that you own that customer and that you're keeping as much of that sale profit out of each order that comes through your drive, whether it's 15, 30, 40 orders a month or 500 or 1,000 orders a month.
It would seem that fixed ops in particular, parts, Dan, has been ripe for disruption for a long time. And the old traditional method of coming into the parts department, buying from the front counter, that seems to be, to me, less and less. And now it's moving online. The same way dealers have put all their inventory online, it expands the marketplace from just your local geography to now a nationwide, a worldwide market, and you're open 24/7. If you want to speak to some of that and some of the benefits for dealers in doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Case in point of what you just said there is that, take it back 10 years from a brick and mortar perspective, the parts department's open around, we'll say 7 and closes 4 or 5, maybe a little earlier, depending on the situation. But there's the common man and whoever else still needs parts, even if the department's not open. So having a digital counter, if you will, is a big part of what our platform or any other platform out there is offering. We actually, through our platform over the last 2 years, about 45% of our sales happen outside of what would be normal business hours for a parts department. So if you're considering where the value might be, that in and of itself, right there is pretty huge. And ultimately, I think too is that also big thing that we saw during COVID is the increase in while you say you're absolutely right, the counter traffic itself is down as far as guy walking up and asking for wiper blades or oil filter, what have you. But what we've seen through our sales through our platform is that the local pickup, as in I'd like to buy from you and I'll come swing by and pick it up tomorrow, the next day, it's nearly 50% or more than that of our orders for dealers across some of our programs. And prior to COVID, probably 25, maybe 30% at best. So really what that's changed from a consumer perspective is it's just convenience. I don't want to wait for it to be shipped to me because my car's in my driveway and I need to go to work tomorrow or the next day, right? So what we've seen there from that local, but both a local reach and global reach, is customers wanting products as soon as possible. And also that customer coming in, picking up in person. That's not just a parts customer at that point. That might turn into a service customer. That might turn into a future sales customer. So having a body inside the store is always pretty valuable, even if they're just there to pick up an oil filter. They might leave with a few extra things.
Dan, it's like anything else, right? As consumers, we expect to be able to buy something, push a button, and get it, all right, and get it delivered even to us, right? So, why would parts be any different? By the way, congratulations. I heard that SimplePart has over 19 OEM programs, 19 that you're working with, and what kind of advantages does that give dealers? In having these OEM programs when it comes to accuracy and confidence and so on.
Yeah, absolutely, Ted. And we really appreciate the opportunity from each of those OEM partners to work with them and their dealers and retailers. I think kind of multiple advantages. I'll focus on two specific ones. I think one of the biggest pieces that SimplePart platform brings to the table is data accuracy from the parts catalog side of the business and the accessory side. Our return rates and cancellation rates for our OEM programs are in the single digit percentages. We often see that considerably higher with from other platforms, whether that be marketplaces or other providers that don't have data directly from the OEM. And secondarily, we have a lot of opportunities for dealers participating across really every level of the platform and supported by OEM incentives, whether that be free shipping promotions, Labor Day sales, which would have just happened, of course. Basically quarterly promotions that are supported by the OEM and really kind of in some ways free money in the dealer's pocket. And yet another way to keep more profit in your pocket at the dealership rather than pushing that over through a marketplace or somewhere else.
So, Dan, if I'm a dealer or a general manager watching this, and I've been in 20 groups where other dealers in my 20 group are selling online, but my parts manager maybe has been resistant to doing that, I would think that's probably the hardest part, is that first step in getting started with e-commerce, convincing my parts manager and my team that, yes, we can do it, we can get started. Because I believe that once they get started, Dan, I think they get hooked on it. And I think they start to see that this is all profit they would not normally have had.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Starts out incrementally for most of our kind of newbies, if you will, that have not dipped the toe in the water just yet. I think from the SimplePart perspective, what we have structured is kind of a stair step packaging program where you can get as much or as many or as few orders as you would like as you ease into this being a true channel for your parts department. So our kind of entry level packages will get you started and comfortable, and then as you've created those processes in store, you understand how to serve those customers that are coming in from picking up orders in person, getting orders shipped out the door. You can easily stair step up into a broader reach. So not just outside of your metro area, but a regional play or even a national play. And ultimately, what I think there, exactly your point, is really just dipping the toe in the water. You're spot on with the coaching team that we provide and kind of best practices. Makes it pretty easy to excel as long as you're willing to take a little bit of a risk, if you will.
Everyone, we're speaking to Dan DuPree. He is the vice president of product at a company called SimplePart, simplepart.com. You can find them on the web. They are backed by the company that we all know with Microcat EPC, Infomedia. And this is one of the big growth areas right now for dealers, retail fixed operations. Dan, I got to ask you, in your view, what's the real difference between let's say a basic parts site, e-commerce site, and a parts e-commerce strategy that's really integrated with fixed ops and dealer success metrics?
Yeah, absolutely. I think ultimately, Ted, what you're looking for is how does the e-commerce experience that you want to present to your customers or potential customers, how does that fit in to the rest of what your store is doing? And I think ultimately what we see as works best and from a best practices perspective is having a plan between yourself and your service manager or yourself in the service department of how you're going to facilitate those local pickup orders, how you're going to facilitate online orders, what the price differences may look like between those channels. And ultimately, really what you're after here is you're serving a customer that is really a third or fourth owner, has really no consideration or is not even thought about bringing their car into a dealer for repairs. They're taking it to an IRF. They're taking it to a big box IRF, and potentially wanting to purchase those OEM parts on their own. So really, what you're after here is opening up a whole new channel of customers that really have not stepped foot in the dealership in quite some time. And again, going back to, as I mentioned before, it gives you that opportunity to get the person in the door, and maybe they do turn into a service customer. And sure, you might have to sell them an oil filter or something for a little bit less than usual through the drive. But if you turn a $25 sale into a $400 service RO, it's a pretty good day for everybody. So I think it's ultimately looking at the kind of the bigger picture of bringing in those folks as those potential service opportunities. And once you have a service customer, that's a potential new car sales customer a few months down the road, as we all know. And so the cycle continues.
Dan, I know a lot of parts managers and fixed ops directors who are now in the e-commerce game squarely, and they tell me that they do enjoy a significant amount of repeat and referral business from the people who've been buying from them online, because it's become comfortable right now, okay? And they go back and they buy more and they ship more, and it's really been a very welcome surprise, if you will, to many dealers who've gotten into the parts e-commerce game. And again, a huge growing part of our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think through our platform, it varies by program, but we see anywhere between 30 and 40% of repeat business on a monthly basis. So exactly to your point, it's a customer service opportunity. Whether that customer is same experience, they have a good experience. They like that you've shipped that item to them quickly. You made it available for pickup within just a couple of days. Customer for life type of situation, right? If you continue with that good customer service approach and that good pricing approach, they're going to keep coming back, and the opportunity, they're going to tell their friends, and so on and so on. Kind of the oldest form of marketing, but that customer service opportunity and getting orders turned around as quickly as possible, that's definitely key, and it keeps those folks coming back. Absolutely.
Dan, how do you work with dealers? Again, if I'm a general manager watching, I know that I'm not in the shipping business. I'm in the business of selling cars, selling labor, selling hours, selling parts. But there's some things that we're really not good at, like shipping. Okay. And, what kind of guidance and counseling do you give the dealer once they get into e-commerce like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some kind of standard materials that we distribute as far as best practices, creating a daily schedule, kind of just getting in the routine of having multiple members of your team check and make sure those orders are being taken care of. We also, dealers have access to what we call our dealer strategy or our coaching team. So this is a group of folks that have over 50 plus years of experience, either working with and in dealerships across the U.S. And ultimately, what they're there to kind of talk through is you tell me how things operate in the department today, and let me help you fit in e-commerce into the situation you already have. This isn't necessarily a situation where we're signing up for e-commerce, we need to go hire 3 people. Now, ultimately, what we're trying to do is let e-commerce fit into your current department and current processes. And then as the business grows on its own, as you invest more into it from an advertising perspective, whatever it might be, then yeah, potentially you do have someone who's solely focused on this. But ultimately, the way that our platform's designed, the way that structure happens, is you can stair step into e-commerce using everyone you have in the store today. That could be a 2-person team, a 5-person team, or a 25-person team. Doesn't matter the size, we can make it fit, and our coaching team and our support team are there to kind of help guide you through best practice around the size of your store, when to do what, how to check those orders, so on and so forth.
Dan, parts is not exactly the sexiest part of the dealership, and dealers have gotten good at selling vehicles and then delivering vehicles. That happened a few years ago when the world changed. It's happened now with service, with things like service pickup and delivery, and now with mobile service, going to the customer and performing the work in their driveway and really valuing their time. I would imagine that a lot of these folks who are buying online, okay, we're valuing their time because their time is important, and now they want to be able to find a trusted partner. And to that point, Why is it important that a dealer's platform for parts e-commerce have national visibility, rather than being part of somebody else's platform or doing it the other way?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I think the biggest focus there is customer ownership. We'll use the marketplace example. I won't necessarily name names, but if you go to the one that starts with A, you're a customer of that platform. Now, granted, you as a seller, as the dealer, there's money to be made there. No one's going to question that. Amazon will just say it. Amazon is the behemoth that they are, right? That being said, that opportunity for that customer who may be local to you or 4 states away,
right.
You have that opportunity to build the relationship with them directly, and they being the customer of your store, not proxy of a marketplace. I think the other key piece of that as well is we see this within our the feedback that our customers provide to our dealers. The average customer is willing to wait maybe an additional day or two for an item to ship to them if they feel like they've gotten that personal touch, they've gotten exactly what they need. They know that that item's going to fit their car because they've browsed the OEM catalog, they've got verification from you or someone in your department, and they're willing to wait that extra day or so to get that item that they know is going to fit their vehicle. Whereas if you go to one of the big marketplaces like Amazon, you're a bit of a number, and hopefully the thing you get fits. But if not, then you've got to figure out the return and so on and so forth. And what we're trying to do is make sure you get the right product as the end consumer. You get the right product the first time, and then you build that relationship with the customer going forward, so they keep coming back to you as they need more items for their vehicle.
And then, as important, maybe even more important, you help preserve the dealer's brand, okay, and their image, and I would imagine their margins too.
Yeah, exactly. It's spot on. It's not just brand recognition and brand protection, and really when it comes down to it, let's be honest, we're all here trying to find where margin is and how we can make more money out of the things we're doing day to day. I think ultimately selling direct to customers from a site that you operate and host on your own as a dealer, there's always going to be more margin there. Really, ultimately, each of our packages, each of the other providers out there, the kind of fixed fees that you can predict, and not the constant percentages that are pulled away from you from the marketplaces, keeps more money on the bone at the end of the day for you at the dealership, and allows you to grow that business and do so in a profitable manner, making sure that it's not just throwing up a really big sales number and assuming we must be making money if it's that big. We want to make sure that every order that comes through is a profitable order for you, regardless of how big or small your footprint might be to begin with.
All right, Dan. So for our audience watching today, if they want to take the next step, I've looked at the website, SimplePart.com. Is that the best place to get more information and to learn how to go the next step with you folks?
Yeah, absolutely, Ted. Go, SimplePart.com. There's various pieces of information there. You can check out our programs tab up in the kind of top right-hand corner, and that's going to list out all of the OEM programs that we provide across the U.S. and Canada and beyond. And you can also reach out to me directly with any questions. I think my email's floating around there at the bottom. It's DuPree@ifmamericas.com.
I noticed you're on social media as well. Dan, you're part of SimplePart is part of a big company I mentioned earlier, Infomedia. I imagine this is going to continue to grow and grow, and I look forward to hearing, and I want to invite you back so we can learn more about what SimplePart is doing and how dealers can continue to get into the e-commerce game and get the best practices to do that.
No, absolutely, Ted. We appreciate you having us, and we're very excited to be part of the Infomedia family and continue to grow our e-commerce presence in the U.S. and Canada, and help the dealers and those that are listening get into the game if they're not in it, and if they're in it, let's help you be more profitable at the game that you're already playing and doing a good job with.
Parts e-commerce, everybody. It's a growing, tens of billions of dollars industry within the retail automotive industry. Dan DuPree is Vice President of Product at SimplePart. They're part of Infomedia. You can reach them at SimplePart.com. Dan's email is scrolling at the bottom. Dan, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you for all that you and SimplePart and Infomedia do for our business.
Absolutely, Ted. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Dan DuPree, everybody, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Time is money, and wasting it waiting in line for parts or searching for information? That's a cost you don't need. But there's another way. Microcat EPC makes every parts search faster, more efficient, and more accurate. It's the parts catalog built from VIN-specific OEM data, so you always get the right part, first time, every time. And it's more than just parts. Microcat EPC also gives you access to service, repair, and fluid data, all in one place. It's fully integrated with your DMS, so orders are processed instantly. And with automatic OEM updates, you're always working with the latest information and pricing. Why wait in line when you can keep moving? Available anytime, anywhere, on any device. Microcat EPC keeps you ahead of the game. Work faster, work smarter, because time is money. Microcat EPC, driven by data and built to keep you ahead.
Our next speaker has got real gumption. It's Brian Benstock.
Back to the drawing board. 32% of my colleagues, 32% say, yeah, we're using AI. We use AI. And I say, baloney. Right? Ted, 75% of the dealers say we have pickup and delivery. You say, I want pickup and delivery. Yeah, March of 2026, we'll set an appointment for you. We've got an old guy named Harry, and he'll be back. And you can have your pickup and delivery. You want to see AI? This is AI. This is what's going on in AI.
This may look like just another car factory, but it's actually a new microfactory, manned by autonomous robot dogs and robotic arms monitored by AI. It's designed to change the way cars are produced, and it's been built in the heart of one of the smallest and most expensive countries in the world, Singapore.
Typically, car manufacturers don't build car factories in dense urban cities like Singapore. But here it's going to be different from most car factories. Robots are going to do a lot of the manufacturing, and it's going to be a much more flexible model.
Microfactories reinvent the way cars are made by automating most of the process and building them in a cell rather than along a production line.
So this could be the future in which we talk in a couple of years from now.
Microfactories are one of the biggest changes to car making in a generation, and if the concept is proven, it could shape the future of the industry.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program is designed to help preferred dealers and partners with powerful tools, resources, and marketing to achieve even greater success and help grow revenue. Ted Ings and I invite you to learn more today at FixedOpsRoundtableCertified.com.
Talk about a box office hit. It's Euwart Anderson from Vehlo.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Euwart Anderson from Vehlo is with us, making a big name in the industry. I see them in the news everywhere. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about. But first, Euwart, welcome back to the Roundtable and congratulations. I see two big acquisitions that just came out recently.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ted. Glad to be back. Glad to be part of the Roaring Twenties series as well. You got also right things. To your point, we've remained acquisitive in the market as Vehlo, and probably one of the more active. We've recently acquired two pretty well-known brands out there, DealerPay. Most people have interacted with them from a dealer, back office perspective and a payments perspective. Julie Douglas is very active in the marketplace. We're glad to have her in that team, on board as part of the Vehlo family. And then we've also recently acquired Total Customer Connect, TCC, who brings a wealth of offerings to the market as well that complement, our current SaaS and services. So excited about both of those acquisitions.
Congratulations to you. That really, you're really filling in everything on the fixed ops side. And it just shows Vehlo's dedication towards dealerships and retail and fixed ops and the customer as well, and improving that entire experience for them.
Absolutely. I think as part of that commitment, what we've also seen is we've seen some great assets out there in the market that offer, awesome technology, AI-based platforms, services, a variety of different, assets that bring some really cool things to the table. But one of the pillars, if you will, or the core principles that we acquire by is a customer first sentiment, within the organization. They of course need to be healthy, well operated businesses. At the same time, they have to be customer first, and that's a cultural alignment that's really important to us. And both TCC and DealerPay bring that to the table, and it complements, our legacy brands really, really well.
Well, let's talk a little bit today, if I can, about things you're doing with Text to Drive, with DealerLogix, which are some of your core brands that are throughout the United States and more. First, a little bit on the service employee experience, because I know that's a big part of it, having happy, efficient employees. We hear the word efficiency now, but your tools and solutions, you were really play into that. If you want to speak to that on the employee side before the customer side.
Sure. So focusing on the employee side, and that's a great tee up, by the way, Ted. Focusing on the employee side, I would kind of call out, a few things. One, we've certainly learned, through the powerful brands that Text to Drive and DealerLogix brought to the table at acquisition, 5-6 years ago, that those products stand alone as powerhouses, right? Like they're from a value creation perspective. Text to Drive generates a ton of revenue, creates excellent trust with customers, but more importantly, it's heavily automated, which makes the employees' experience super light, right? So, and that's very intentional. We want to prioritize people to get to that profit, and one of the ways you prioritize employees with Text to Drive is automation and simplicity. Make it to where they're spending their time dealing with customers directly and doing the things that a computer or a system can't. Right. And then you bring DealerLogix into that equation from a fixed ops, workflow, MPI or multi-point inspection, scheduler point of view. When you start to automate and enhance those types of experiences for the employee, where they're just coming in every day, and basically the system has laid out, what that day looks like, and has automated a lot of the experiences the employee has. And then they also get to spend the time on what's important and what a system can't do, which is to give the customers great experiences one-to-one, right? From the check-in and from scheduling an appointment all the way through, handling a payment. So when you take a big step back, like we had these two, products that were already geared toward the employee experience.
Yes.
And then we thought, why not bring them together, right? So while these two brands are still sold separately, as dealers require, we have also created a package or a bundle, if you will, called DealerLogix Service Suite Pro. And DealerLogix Service Suite Pro specifically was, and this was in a prior announcement and a prior fixed ops roundtable event that you and I did together. Yeah, DealerLogix Service Suite Pro was actually the most recently added 3 synergy offering for GM's, one of GM's high-end programs. So when you think about the experience of bringing those two things together, that also has an employee impact. Now there's a single sign-on. Now there's not 2 systems, there's one, right? There's a unified experience that we're further unifying on a continual basis. So that employee experience day to day is really centered around, how many systems are they logging into? How unified is that experience from a UI perspective? How many clicks do they have to endure to get something done, right? How much automation is included? All of those components are how we prioritize people to get to that profit using text to drive and dealer logics.
So if I'm an employee working at a dealership and now I've become accustomed to working with dealer logics and text to drive, it would be hard to go to another dealership that does not use some of these fundamentals, because now it's made my job so much easier, so efficient, and the customers can recognize that as well. Talk to us about that, because on the employee side, I mean, that's, a customer can sense if it's tough for the employee, it's more difficult for that customer experience as well.
Sure. I think you bring up a few good points. One way to maybe bridge that gap between the employee and the customer, I would actually connect the speed and the efficiency, to that kind of sits right in between those two personas, right? That from an employee perspective, they want to spend as little amount of time processing an RO as possible so that they can maximize their incentive plans in the service lane. Let's just all be honest, right? The guys and the ladies that work in the service lanes that are servicing consumers in the market, keeping cars safe on the road, keeping families safe, they also have a comp plan and they have families to feed as well. And by arming them with these tools that are improving workflows, that respect their time, that reduce chaos in the service lane, that ultimately leads to reducing idle time. It maximizes RO turn. It ultimately streamlines kind of scheduling and dispatch, right? The front end of that experience. And that turns into not only profitability for the dealer, but it also turns into revenue, personally for each member of that team, whether you're an advisor, a tech, a manager, a parts manager, you're incentivized to efficiently and effectively handle repair orders, right? So then you see how does that connect, to the customer experience? Well, a fast repair order process and a fast service, if you will, because most consumers don't know what repair order is, a fast service experience is optimal for a consumer. No consumer wants to be in the service lane any longer than they need to be. They also, frankly, don't want to be sold more than they need to buy. And being able to position our users, if you will, in the service lane with strong menu packages that drive clarity between what the manufacturer is recommending and what the dealer would also recommend to keep that car functional and safe. It allows for a very seamless and trust-centric consumer experience. So now they know that Euwart, the advisor, is bringing to them only what they really need to focus on to keep that car on the road and keep that car moving safely for their families, right? So everyone wins. The employee experience is optimal, it's safe, it's straightforward, it's easy to do. And then the consumer experience is equally trust-centric, very transparent, and fairly turnkey, outside of a big job.
And you're respecting everybody's time, and that's the most valuable commodity. It's not the money, it's the time. And when you have more time, and you allow the dealership to work more efficiently, there's an opportunity for that RO dollar per RO to increase. Okay. And I think that's a big part of what you're doing. You would talk to us on the customer side now, because in terms of efficiencies and saving time, you're also building trust, which is the fundamental in service, but you're very transparent. And some of the newer tools that you mentioned earlier today are going to help with that. But talk to us about transparency and communication, because I think customers now are growing to expect that when they come in to a dealership.
100%. We do live, Ted, in the Amazon age, right? So people want things clearly. They want things often very transactionally, and they want them fast, right? So that's the expectation, right? When we get online, that's what Amazon gives us. We all order on Amazon all the time. They know that their car experience or service experience can't be synonymous to that, but they want it as close as possible, right? So and they're spending hard-earned money, to get it. So the way that we focus on driving that transparency with customers is kind of twofold. One, we want to make sure that there's no chasing from a consumer, that when they bring their vehicle into the service lane, their advisors armed, using our products, text to drive and dealer logics, to provide real-time proactive updates, right? So there is a SMS or a text element that's very active and proactive between the consumer or the customer and the advisor, and that drives transparency. They know at that point the advisor is not just trying to collect a check. The advisor is actually trying to make sure that customer comes back, right? So that CSI and the experience is paramount for that advisor. And they know that ultimately strong CSI leads to retention, and retention leads to revenue, right? So that there's a collected, trifecta win there between the dealership, the employee, and the customer if we do that right. The second side of that is there's a pre-service post-sale element of loyalty and engagement that starts with a relationship. So before the customer ever needs service, our products are actually communicating with them in an automated fashion as soon as they buy the vehicle, right? So post purchase, we're already connecting them to the service lane so that there's a relationship to make sure that they are maintaining the second most valuable thing most people will ever buy, right? You buy a home and then you buy a car. And we want to make sure that that relationship doesn't start the day you have a problem and anxiety's heightened, emotionally it's very, very tough to overcome trust at that point. Well, if that relationship already exists with the service department, now the customer feels actually a bit open, like they're coming into someone who's looking out for their best interest. And connecting that relationship post sale through our automation is really key as we do that. So those are two areas of transparency that I would highlight, would be the post sales motion to get them connected to service, and then also the during the repair order process where there's no chasing, a lot of proactive communication.
I wasn't aware of that post-sale communication, Euwart. So that's fantastic that's occurring. And these tools are really becoming the standard now. Okay. I mean, if a dealer is not utilizing tools like Dealer Logics and Text to Drive, they're at a disadvantage in today's market with today's consumer.
Absolutely. So to that point, there's lots of reasons why they wouldn't be. And some of those reasons are technology based, right? It could be certain technologies and processes that are mandated, depending on the manufacturer or the dealer group, et cetera. One thing that we've removed as a hurdle in that respect is frankly cost. We understand that dealers are running a business too. And while dealers are community pillars, right? Dealers are very involved in their communities and in their people, and they take care of dozens, if not hundreds, of families, depending on the size of that dealer and that dealer group. They also are running a business, and profitability is important. So we actually, even though we're covering a larger span of that customer touch, post sale, all the way through the longevity of that service relationship, we actually are typically the least expensive offering that covers that scope. So I think that's important to highlight, because the dealer P&L experience is also important, right? Our ROI is hands down, one of the top typically when we're being compared to our competitors. And look, there's some great competitors out there too. And we love being across the table from them. We know that we're all aiming to serve our dealers well and serve customers. But we feel that we've got a strong advantage because of that relationship that we start building post sales, and we come in with the dealer's profitability in mind, which starts with cost.
Your fixed operations has been poised for disruption, and you are a major disruptor, because this is an exciting time now to be in our industry and see all the things that are happening, not just on the service lane, but throughout service, the workflow, the processes, the post-sale activity that you mentioned, things that are happening in the BDC, the way people make payments, okay, to pay for those services. This is all really integrated. And Vehlo, your company, sees the big picture, okay, for dealers, and has really made big strides. And you've mentioned profit focused, also people first. Your focus. This is allowing us to focus on people, on customers, and the employees as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we're certainly a people first, profit focused, approach to our business. We get a lot of feedback from our dealers, but we also spend a substantial amount of time in service lanes with our dealers. We're very hands-on with helping dealerships go through the change management of creating visibility, accountability, and starting to enhance trust with consumers. That's a culture change for a lot of dealers, right? And it's not trivial. And those that embark on that process, they are also people first, and we have a shared DNA. So that excites us. And when we show up on those service lanes, we get not only feedback from dealers, but we get feedback from their customers on their experience. And that CSI is not just, from consumer to dealer. It's also it also includes the third leg of the stool, if you will, which is us, and it allows us to make those experiences better and better as we go. And frankly, profit follows when people, staff, and customers feel supported, and when consumers feel that their best interest is paramount. Profit tends to follow that. So we lean into that hard. It doesn't mean we're perfect at it, but we're going to continue to challenge that status quo on a month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter basis.
And you have developed some of the best names in the industry. Some of these brands, I haven't mentioned yet, even Rapid Recon, okay, which so many dealers use, and that's part of the Vehlo family. Euwart, I mean,
right.
You've got a lot. I mean, there's not too many bases you haven't covered yet, okay, in this service and the fixed ops experience for dealers.
That's exactly right. We've certainly been strategic about those bases too. To your point, there as I mentioned earlier, there have been some other assets out there that are really interesting, but we're very focused in optimizing the fixed ops experience, right? So that area of optimization and opportunity has just been prime, for change and for disruption, to your earlier comment. And we're just glad to have a seat at that table, and at some, in some cases, to be at the front of that table or the head of that table, leading the charge. And we're just thankful to have customers that are ready to get behind that change, because they understand that actually a lot of what's occurred over the last 5-6 years, including COVID, has really put a lot of pressure on dealers in many ways, and fixed ops has been the centerpiece, the pillar that has kept many dealers afloat, and we've leaned into that hard, and we'll continue to do that.
So Dealer Logix, Text to Drive, two of the big brands. This is tech that enhances people. It's not going to replace them. It's going to make them better at what they do, more efficient, and you're helping dealers create a people-first service lane, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would say if there was one thing that I would encourage anyone listening to take away, it's prioritize people, and profit becomes the byproduct of that.
All right. Very well said, Euwart. All right. So Text to Drive and Dealer Logix, both websites, you can see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You're able to find out more information there. They're a big part of what's happening at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. More and more dealers are utilizing these products and the integrated products that Vehlo has put together on this platform. Euwart, if dealers watching or a manager watching has questions, how this would interact with, a certain situation at their dealership, or, perhaps a DMS or something along those lines, what's the best way for our audience to ask questions and learn more about Vehlo and the brands you've got?
Sure. Two methods. One, Vehlo.com, VEHLO.com would be a good place to go for the latter part of your question, to learn more about the Vehlo kind of organization and our three divisions and how we support our customers. More specifically, to Dealer Logix and Text to Drive, DealerLogix.com and TextToDrive.com are both available, and options for those of you who are interested in learning more to go out and solicit a demo or just a conversation with someone who can assess your needs and tell you exactly how we could help support you. The other part of that too, Ted, is we don't put round pegs in square holes. So if we can't support you, we're going to let you know that. If we have suggestions about how to get best support, we'll let you know that too.
Everybody, it's becoming a highlight at the Fixed Ops Roundtable when we have Euwart on, because frankly, Euwart, later this year, I don't know how you're going to top the announcements that you've had here today, but somehow I think you will. And continued success to you, my friend, and congratulations on the entire Vehlo family. Now adding 2 more brands in fixed operations, big brands to help dealers on top of the ones that you've got now. And of course, you can learn more, everybody, at texttodrive.com, dealerlogix.com. Euwart Anderson, thank you again for visiting with us today and for all you do.
Excellent, Ted. Thanks so much for having me.
Everybody, Euwart Anderson from Vehlo here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hi, I'm Angie Piscato from the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We today are in Okemos, Michigan at Graf Chevrolet. We are talking all things fixed ops, but in particular, technician multi-point inspection videos. Patrick does the technician multi-point inspections every day. So I wanted to get a perspective from you on what exactly you feel like that adds to the service experience.
I feel like it gives the customer a great idea of what's going on with their vehicle as far as issues they might have. A visual representation is the best thing you can do as far as showing someone what's going on with their vehicle, and also be able to give them the explanation of what's going on as well. Sometimes things can be lost in translation from one person to another when it comes to reaching out to a customer. So video is the best thing you can do for that. So it's been a great system.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I got the chance to see you in action a few times. Tell me, how long does it take normally per each video?
Generally between a minute to 4 minutes, depending on, if there's a lot of issues with the vehicle or if it's a newer vehicle. If it's a brand new vehicle, usually around a minute, but you need to go more in depth and explain what's going on with the vehicle to take up to 4 minutes.
So you feel like it's a positive addition to the process?
Absolutely. I think it's a great addition to be able to give the customer peace of mind and a visual representation of what may be going on with their vehicle.
Excellent. And I heard earlier you said you can't imagine doing anything without it now.
Yeah, honestly, since we started, I would never turn back. It's been a really good system and customers love it. So
yeah, we started this back in 2019. We just thought it was a great idea to show customers transparency. It's a great tool to have for the customer to just see what we're seeing on their vehicle. There's always that worry of, is this actually what's wrong with my vehicle? So to show them, hey, your oil cooler lines are leaking, your brakes are bad, your tires are low on tread depth, just be able to visualize that and actually see their vehicle, it's just a tremendous help.
Have you had any particular customer feedback in regards to these videos?
Yes, our customers absolutely loved it, especially back in 2019 when we started it. It just blew customers away.
Absolutely. I'm sure it's unnerving and very also exciting to see your own vehicle in the air. The technician takes the customer underneath with the camera, right?
Yep.
And shows them what types of things underneath the car. Have you run into any roadblocks with technicians or, developing this process within the shop?
I know when we initially started it, I would say 80% of the shop was on board. Some of the older techs that have been here for quite a while, they had a little pushback on doing the video, but once we showed them, hey, this is going to help, this is going to allow the customer to see what you're seeing and not to think that, you're lying trying to upsell them something that's not needed.
Yeah, and for being such an early adopter, I feel like Graf Chevy and the whole organization did this really probably a few years before a lot of the other dealerships came on board. It's like I said, a relatively new thing. How are you able to keep the momentum going and get technicians excited about getting under the car and shooting these videos?
For one, we do pay them to do the video, so that's obviously a big help. But two, again, just knowing that they have that connection with the customer, showing them underneath what's going on with their vehicle, and just the transparency. I think that's the huge key with these videos, just being transparent with the customer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tom.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Jazz up the stage with the keynote speakers from the Reynolds Amplify event in Dallas.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. We are at Reynolds and Reynolds Amplify Summit in Dallas, Texas today. And Ted, our special guest with us, just delivered quite the panel.
That's right. It was the keynote session, and I'm going to ask each of our speakers if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and tell us what you do for the industry.
I'm Natasha Del Barrio. I am the CEO of the Bird Ogden Auto Group in South Texas.
Hi, I'm Patrick York. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Gilman Automotive Group based in Houston, Texas.
I'm Inga Mora. I'm a Senior Partner with McKinsey & Company. I lead our dealer and aftermarket service line, and I'm located out in Utah.
Natasha, I'll start with you and then go down the line. You discussed productivity and efficiency here at Amplify. Why are those two things so important for this industry to grow right now?
Well, I mean, I think obviously we know that this industry is plagued with being accused of having long processes and a difficult process for customers. So anything we can do to utilize technology and intelligence to speed up the process, make it more productive, communicate with our customers better, builds more value in our own brands and customer satisfaction and engagement.
Patrick?
Yeah, I would say that it's important that we remind our employees that we are a for-profit business. And being as such, we have to continually look for ways to be more efficient and more productive. The challenge is not allowing easy easy solutions to be the answer with respect to just throwing money or products at an issue. It really comes down to people. It comes down to hiring the right people. It comes down to training those people and then holding them accountable. Those principles are true whether it be variable or fixed operations. I could say that most dealerships do not put the same emphasis, sadly, on training and technology as in fixed operations as they do in variable. And it's a big opportunity for us and for the industry to take some of those same principles of training and apply them to fixed operations to get more out of fixed operations.
Inga, there is a big component of productivity and efficiency that you discussed as well. Could you share some of those insights?
Yeah, I think one of the things we're seeing is there's a lot of technology coming into the industry more and more, and a lot of AI. And I think there is this question on, besides all the technology, besides all the enablement, why don't we necessarily see salespeople selling more cars? Why isn't our kind of like RO conversion on recommended services as good as we would like it to be? And so I think a big theme we explored was like, how can I think about technology and data to kind of make our sales consultants, make them more efficient, and kind of leverage the data that exists within the dealerships to serve it up at the right moment in time, to recommend an additional accessory package, to convert the next recommended RO, or to kind of tee the customer up for a trade-in, or kind of build loyalty in the brand of the location.
You're certainly right. There's a big focus, especially here today, on technology and a lot of new emerging technologies for fixed operations as well. But if I can come back to something that you said, Patrick, it still comes back to the people, okay? It's a people business. We're people driven. And, because of the shortage of staff, in many cases, specifically technicians on the fixed op side, a lot of times dealerships can't just go out and hire more people. How can fixed become more efficient, the fixed operations, to compensate on the people side?
Well, it comes down to some very basic principles, such as making sure that the workflow that's going into our service departments, each job is going to the right technician, and that we're not utilizing technicians that are much more capable of doing more advanced work for basic work, and having our master techs really focused on the jobs that require master techs. And with respect to efficiency, I would say that parts availability and making sure that we've cut the friction between our parts department and our service departments is a key element. That requires some advanced management with respect to our service and parts managers and general managers, making sure that we're properly stocked in our parts departments to create that efficiency for the service department.
Natasha, your thoughts on fixed operation and creating efficiencies for the people?
Well, I mean, really, it holds true for all departments, but we've got so many great tools out there to utilize and make the jobs easier and more efficient but we talked about quality of data is a huge part of it. And people tend to be very resistant in this industry to really owning and utilizing the technologies. So the technology is a fantastic tool, but our ability in a leadership position to get people to really engage and adopt that technology is the multiplier of the profitability, of the efficiency, productivity, all of it.
And by the way, two great dealer groups here happen to be from Texas, where we are today. I don't know if there's any coincidence for that.
Everything's bigger in Texas, right?
Everything's bigger in
Absolutely.
Texas. So, and congratulations to you on the success you're having with retail, with both of you as well. Inga, let me come over to you as well. I've noticed, McKinsey's also talking about the opportunity that's out there for dealers. The growth opportunities seem to be in areas like fixed operations and fixed. Your thoughts on that today?
Yeah, I think something in a bit of the history of a lot of dealers and a lot of dealer GMs grew up on the sales side of the business. Yeah, and so I think sometimes the inclination is to always focus on how do we increase front-end gross, how do we expand into used cars, And so if you look at dealerships over the last 5 to 10 years, there was a real focus on growing kind of the sales side of the business, getting more into used cars, getting to a 1-to-1, 1-to-1.5 ratio for new to used, kind of increasing F&I attach rate, white labeling your own product. And I think now, I don't want to say those places have been fully utilized. There's always more. You can always be more productive. But I think a lot of what we're seeing is the next horizon is to really get much more robust on fixed ops and bring kind of a lot of the technology into how do I retain loyalty with the customer? How do I make sure that once the OEM warranty expires, I don't lose the customer? How do I improve conversion on additional ROs recommended? So if the customer came in last time, I told them there was something that was a yellow flag on the condition report. How do I now pre-wire this when I confirm the appointment? I remind them, hey, last time our technician in the vehicle inspection found issue ABC on your car. Would you be open to us fixing it this time? This way you can pre-order the part. You can make sure the technician gets the job done quicker, more efficient. The customer has an expectation on what to expect from a total RO bill. And so I think there's a lot of growth opportunity, both in terms of servicing the customer longer, and kind of Natasha on the panel really highlighted this point on the customer thinks about owning the car as an entire journey. They don't just think about buying the car. And so I think fixed ops is really kind of a little bit closing the circle and building the loyalty loop and making the entire experiencing of owning and being with your car like more seamless.
Well, in our final moments, just a lightning round, because some of our audience today did not have the time or have the ability to come to Reynolds and Reynolds Amplify and attend the summit today. So I want to get what the biggest takeaways were and share that today. So Natasha, starting with you, what was the biggest takeaway and how were you able to help dealers with your keynote panel?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is really adoption, engagement, good quality data, utilizing it correctly, breaking down the silos so that our dealership experience, the way that we work and manage our workflow matches the seamless customer ownership experience. Gotcha.
I would say that creating differentiation, creating an experience that sets your dealership apart, whether it be variable operations, sales, or fixed operations, really should be the focus. You want to provide an experience that is different than other experiences that your customers have had, so that it's memorable in a good way, and they want to come back and do business with you.
Yeah. I think for me, it was kind of technology combined with the human element. Like we talked a lot about AI, and kind of AI on its own only gets you so far. It's really the concept of there's a lot of value in the salesperson, the service advisor, but there's a lot of how technology and artificial intelligence can make our kind of colleagues more efficient. And then really harvesting the power of the data that exists inside your dealership and doing that on a cross-department basis.
Well, thank you all for being with us today. Exciting times in retail, exciting times for Reynolds. Patrick, I can't think of a more exciting time in retail than we are in right now.
It's a booming time, and for those that are nimble enough to evolve and adapt, it's a great time to charge forward and make good things happen, for sure.
I'm Ted Ings. I'm here with Sarah Van Tyne. We are at the Reynolds Amplify Summit, the Fixed Ops Roundtable in Dallas, Texas. Sarah and I are going to be right back.
Hear the latest whiz bang with the workshop panel group from Amplify.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings. Today we are at the Reynolds and Reynolds Amplify Summit in Dallas, Texas. And Ted, it's been quite the day so far.
It is, and we have some very, very fascinating topics, especially this one we're about to talk about. I'll ask each of the panelists, starting with Geraldine, to introduce themselves and what you do. We'll go right down the line.
I'm Geraldine Williams. I'm our Regional Vice President for Enterprise Sales here in Dallas.
Hello, I'm Susan Shook. I'm a Solutions Specialist. I've been with Reynolds for 29 years.
I am Chris Martinez. I am a curator specialist.
AJ McGowan. I'm the co-founder and president of AutoVision.
Well, everyone, welcome to the panel today. There's a lot of incredible workshops that are happening at Amplify, but I want to talk a little bit about the conversation that's happening all across the industry with AI. And so, Geraldine and Susan, I'll start with you both. At the end of the day, AI is about making people more efficient. So, what things are important for decision makers to consider with this in mind when they're looking at AI technology?
Well, really, decision makers should think about, am I getting AI just for the sake of getting new technology? Or will the AI really improve our processes? Will it allow us to do more with less and make us more efficient overall?
The second thing they should consider is the data itself. The data is only as good, AI is only as good as the data that's put in. So if you put bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. So one of the things that Spark AI does, it is the underlying united layer of data across all Reynolds applications. If you have good data, you're going to get good output.
Chris, what about you?
When it comes to data, it's very important to have proper clean data out there. Dealers have been always harping on the need to have the right information for the customers, because when you have that proper information, you can actually message those customers with relative messaging for what that customer is actually on their journey right now.
And AJ, at AutoVision, you kind of came to Reynolds from the outside, if I may. Okay. So talk to us maybe about that journey and communicating your message here within the Reynolds ecosystem.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been here for a little over 2 years, and we've really focused with AutoVision on interconnecting it to all of the various different products that we have inside of the Reynolds ecosystem. And so when it comes to AI, a lot of the things that we've done around Avery, as well as some of the other technologies that we've built with the assistance of the Spark AI layer, have really allowed us to interweave all of these different processes and data points in a way that we think is really useful for dealers. And so it's been an amazing journey so far over the last 2 years to have access to all these other tools and really smart people and big data sets to work with.
I was going to say, when I think I first met you, we were talking just about, reconditioning, service drive, vehicles coming in, but now you're part of a bigger family and big advantages to that, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the breadth and depth of what's available inside of the Reynolds ecosystem, it is, absolutely a playground for a data geek like me. So we've got access to all of these different tools and all of these different processes. And, like I said, when you look at AI and how it's being used to effectively automate those things and to make them more efficient, faster, better, and allowing dealers to really, focus in on the thing that they do best, which is selling cars, making great relationships. And, that's really exciting. It's exciting to be a part of that.
Susan, a lot of dealers are going to hear today and in the future about AI. There's a lot of buzz about AI. Should dealers be afraid of AI? Should we be embracing it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they shouldn't be afraid of it, to be honest with you. I think every person on this earth is using AI in some way or another. If they're just doing a general search on their phone, it's something we're using. They shouldn't feel like my users won't know how to use AI. Definitely, they should embrace it.
Chris, your thoughts on that?
Dealers today need to start embracing AI, but really educating themselves on what it will do for their dealership in their unique processes. Because having something as powerful as AI that can do a lot for you and maximize your returns, not really understanding it within your process, it may not give you the same emphasis that you need out there.
Sure. And I remember when Chris Walsh first talked to us about Spark, you're squarely in that AI domain. Your thoughts on AI and dealers in the future?
I think that we're only 18 months into AI as an industry, as a country, and knowing what we're going to be able to do in the future, it's unlimited, right? The things that we need to concentrate on today to make sure that they're using it and doing it the right way is, what do you want to accomplish? What in your dealership do you want to get done? And how is AI going to help you? It's not going to go out and be a magic pill. It's not going to replace employees. It's not going to finish the world, right? But it is going to help you be more productive and more efficient.
Chris, I want to come back to something you said a minute ago and talk about the information that's going into AI, because really AI is only as good as the information that's getting put into the system. So, talk about the importance of accessible, clean data and ultimately what can be done with it.
Yeah, clean data is really important this day and age. Dealers have their CRM that they usually work out of, right, for customers, and that information is only as good as the person who put it in and the day it was put into the CRM. So as customers are on your website and they're looking around for new vehicles or changing their minds, or their dynamic of their family changes, the information changes. Also, they may move, sell that vehicle. So having that information and that clean information, you can make it actionable. And when you make it actionable, you're able to engage that customer at the right time with the right messaging and make it more effective. And also reducing your costs by doing it. So you're not sending them mailers on a car that they sold 6 years ago, right? Something that they're currently in their current state. So it's quite important to have that clean data and make it accessible for the people at the dealerships.
AJ, your thoughts on
I mean, garbage in, garbage out, right? And AI, just like any other tool, we have to have clean data on the way in. I think one of the really interesting things that we see that people have talked a lot about with AI in general is this concept of the AI hallucinating, right? The idea that the AI will just make stuff up. What we found, in the research as we've, built out these tools is that the more comprehensive a data set you can give it, and the more that you can really, give it something that's clean and concise and internally consistent, the less likely it is that the AI is going to wander off and, tell you that the sky is orange. Then that's really, really important when we're talking about dealerships and using this data, being able to trust this data. There's a huge difference. Geraldine said a moment ago, we're kind of 18 months in, and, that's really true when you talk about industrial uses of AI, like what we're doing at Reynolds, right? And if we're going to lead, in this industry and lead this, kind of revolutionary technology, lead the adoption of that, people have to be able to trust it. And that all starts with the data's got to be clean that it's analyzing.
This workshop that you're delivering today, the four of you, is so important because dealers have been asking and talking about data being clean at top of mind, and now you're talking about it as well. How do you see this going? Okay, in terms of clean data and that conversation, and because that never ends, John. That's going to go on and on.
I think the biggest obstacle that people are going to have to overcome to get the data clean and actually gather more data is using a system that brings that together. Spark AI does that for you. It takes the applications that we have across the board, your CRM, your service appointments, your service history, pulls that data together and allows you to make better decisions. If you don't have the information across all your departments, are you really able to make a good business decision?
Susan, anything you want to add on that? That's pretty complete.
Well, it is, yes. I think dealers came today to find out specifically how they can use AI. And a great example of this, we just talked to a dealer this morning who said, I want to use AI in service to write our warranty statements to submit to the manufacturer. So we're more likely to get reimbursed from the manufacturer. So what a great example of how to use AI.
Wow. All right. Last question I have for today, Sarah. I'll direct it towards AJ. AJ, using AI in effective ways is a goal for a lot of dealers. What are some tangible ways that AI is able to be used today to deliver positive outcomes?
Sure. Yeah, I think when you look at where the state of the technology is right now and the things that we've been able to do with Spark and things that we've been able to do inside of Avery with AutoVision and sort of across the board, the big things that you need to look at are how can it help you to improve your communications, whether that is helping you to communicate directly to customers or helping you to analyze your communications that your employees are having. How do you understand complex data sets? Like the things that we're doing inside of AutoVision. So being able to look at those data sets in real time and use that AI to help you analyze it. And then how to, automate routine but complex tasks, right? And those, sort of tangible things, I think right now are where the state of the art is, and, certainly where we think we're pushing the boundaries of Reynolds.
Yep. Well, congratulations to all of you. I think you are pushing the boundaries. I'm looking forward to the workshop today. I think it's going to be magnificent, great topic. Sarah, exciting times here at Reynolds and Reynolds.
Very exciting, Ted, and a lot more coming.
Yep. I'm Ted Ings. I'm here with Sarah Van Tyne. We're here with the Fixed Ops Roundtable at the Reynolds Amplify Summit. We're in Dallas, Texas. Sarah and I are going to be right back.
Hey Vince, sorry to keep you waiting.
Not a problem, Tim.
Can
How
you
you
believe
doing?
how busy our
I know,
shop
man.
is today?
I know.
It's amazing how much
great.
business.
What Tim doesn't realize is that his service department could be a lot more efficient. For example, Frank tossed away some technician recommendations because he thinks they're too costly. And look at Mike. He just upset this customer by misquoting repairs. Even his lead advisor let this customer leave without recording any recommended or declined services. On top of all that, I see data reentry and techs leaving their base. I can help Tim stop losing money with better processes. Tim, I've got a lot of great ideas I want to share with you. Let's go to your office and talk about those.
Come on in.
Perfect.
When I first started here as a service advisor, our process for upsells was pretty much old school. The work order was written up, the technician would do the report, our multi-point inspection was still carbon copies. When the technician had recommendations, they wrote it on the back of the hard copy. The parts departments would do a parts request for the technician. The technician then would walk over to the advisor and let the advisor know if parts are available. Everything was handwritten, not much of a process. Advanced Service has built communication with technician, advisor, and parts, and it's actually made our departments work better together. Advanced Service has had a huge impact on our hours per row. In February, we were averaging about 1.5 to 1.6. From April to December of last year, we averaged about 2.5 hours per RO. We have taken over 300 or 400 more ROs per month. Our gross per RO has increased to over $200. So we can definitely tell that Advanced Service is working for our store. I really feel that Advanced Service is the best tool you can use to make sure your shop is efficient. If you're struggling with people walking around the shop, the technician hanging out in the parts department, the advisor not at their desk, phones not being answered, Advanced Service will eliminate those issues you're having. If you're trying to find something that's going to help your shop be more efficient, it's Advanced Service.
Learn what's new at Numa with our next speaker.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings, and today a very special topic that's on the minds of a lot of dealers in our industry, AI and what might be limiting dealers and OEMs. Ted, we have a very special guest with us on this topic today.
Sarah, that's right. Derek Simons is with us from Numa. Numa is enjoying some tremendous success and acceptance in the marketplace. So Derek, let me start with congratulations and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ted. You know I love being here with you guys. And I wish that I was dressed up for our Roaring Twenties event today, but I got on my Numa shirt and I got to go see a dealer here in a few minutes. So I wanted to, I wish I was participating in the costume though.
Well, bring us up to speed because we're hearing a whole lot about Numa. You've made tremendous strides this year, especially in the last few months, it seems, and more dealers asking about AI and how that's going to fit into what they do.
Yeah, it's crazy. So for the balance of the year, I think every month between now and November, I am actually speaking at a different conference on AI, Agentic AI, AI in automotive, and a lot of parts and services meetings. So if any of your listeners, any of the viewers out there are doing a district parts and service meeting or, have a service guild that you'd love to have somebody come speak at, we'd love to. We do it all over the country. We just did one in Portland. We just did one in Dallas. We're doing one in Detroit next week. So, I mean, there's all these different ones that are out there. We love it. We love working with the people that are boots on the ground, that are really looking at this and saying, well, how can I do this? What can I do to be better? And then as far as growth and success, you are going to see a major announcement for another big OEM partnership that should be announced here any day. We're super excited about that, and we crossed the threshold. We have over 1,000 dealerships that are using Numa, and we were just looking, because I was at a meeting with some of the OEMs. We were just looking. We've answered over 36 million phone calls for dealerships. We've handled over 5 million appointment requests, and our system has processed over 135 million text messages. When you look at those numbers, it's just kind of mind-boggling at where we're at right now. And the one thing that I think is really important, and Tully and the folks, when we were out at the last pop-up event, we were really talking about CSI, right? And we were talking about why is communication so important. And I have met with 6 of the major OEMs in the last 60 days. There's 2 things that came out of every single one of those conversations. One, CSI is important. And it's not important for the reasons that, we sometimes think it is, but CSI is important to these manufacturers because CSI is a driver. It shows intention for customer loyalty. And retention in the service drive has to be the single most important focus for a dealership today. If you look at a dealership and you look at fixed ops and you look at absorption, right? If we can have 100% absorption in fixed ops, where we cover 100% of the expenses, the fixed expenses for the dealership, what does that do for a dealership? It protects them. It protects them from uncertainty. It protects them from tariffs. It protects them from not knowing what's going to happen with product and development. It puts them in a position that they can guarantee their success long-term because of their fixed operations. And I have been passionate about this my entire career. I have totally believed that the way that we manage a successful dealership is we manage towards 100% fixed absorption, right? And when you look at what Numa is contributing, the average dealership that we work with, we're picking up an additional 160 appointments per month for. And you think about that and you go, well, what does that mean long-term? Well, it means long-term is that's about $1.8 million in RO value at the end of the year, right? And that's nothing to sneeze at. Every one of you know what your operations are running. You know how this all breaks out. So we look at this from the standpoint of what's the next opportunity, right? And so I just said customer satisfaction is the #1 key driver for customer retention. Okay. That sounds kind of crazy, but why are our OEMs focused on customer retention at the dealer level? I'll tell you why. They need to sell parts. That's it. Surprise. I've done consulting with OEMs for 20 plus years. One of the things that I always have believed is that the district parts and sales or service manager, whatever you call them, FOMs or DPSMs or whatever your OEM calls them, they have one of the most difficult jobs on the planet because they're responsible for more in dollars generated through after sales than anybody else. And so they have these checkbox initiatives that they have to go in and they have to get you as a dealer to sign up to, and then they got to sell you parts. And so when you look at this, the reason that they're concerned about retention, everybody has seen the graph, right? So year 1, year 2, year 3, right? We peak as far as service retention in year 3. One of the top import OEMs, when I was looking at this graph with them, they're at about 80% retention between year 2 and 3. What happens after year 3? Retention goes down. Retention goes down and we start losing customers. And here's the challenge. I've said this before. I've even said it before on one of your events. We live in a microwave popcorn generation. We live in an Amazon generation. I need something. I don't have time to go to the store. I click Amazon. I've got Prime. It's delivered tomorrow, right? I don't have to think about it. I have handled that task. Whatever I just ordered is getting delivered to my house tomorrow. Did I pay a little bit more? Maybe, but I don't have to think about it. And it frees me up to be focused on what else I need to do. Here's what happens when a customer calls your dealership for a maintenance issue. Okay. Are they excited that they need to call your dealership to schedule an appointment for brakes? Hell no. Like, they don't want to spend the money. They've got a 30,000 mile service coming up. They're like, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost me? They're worried about it. They're worried about the transparency. They're worried about making the wrong decision, right? And when you don't respond to that customer in a timely fashion, guess what they do? They defect. And that's the point where we start to see the defection. And why do OEMs push tire sales? Why? Do you know why, Ted, that tire sales are so important to OEMs? Do you know why?
Oh, yes, because everything is associated with the tire. And when the tire needs to be replaced, that's when they start looking somewhere else outside of the dealership.
That's exactly right. The stat is mind-boggling. 83% of people will purchase tires from the first person that tells them they need it. 83%. If we lose them to get the tires done somewhere else, what happens? That car goes on the rack there. They give them free rotations. So every 5,000 or 10,000 miles, you can come back and get a free rotation. Why do they want to do that? They want to take the tires off. Why? Because then they've got maintenance. Now I'm selling brakes. Now I'm selling suspension. Now I'm selling alignments. I'm selling the stuff that we need to be selling. If we lose those customers, we lose them. They're gone. And so when we look at this, the reason we're having success and the reason that we're driving retention rates at dealerships is that our AI doesn't sleep on an appointment. It's not going to wait to tomorrow to call them back. It's going to handle it immediately. And if we can't book it, and this is the thing that is the most important to me, we believe 100% that a human needs to be in the loop. I've got some stats that are mind-boggling right now. We were just talking beforehand. I'm not going to say the group, but we just signed up a very large group that is privately held, very large group. And we've been tracking the stats. Right now, 84.1%, this ain't a made up stat, this is a real number, 84.1% of the calls that ring in to Numa for an appointment are either automatically booked by our AI or a human is tagged in at the dealership if it's a complex appointment. 84.1% of all the calls are confirmed appointments in their DMS. 84.1%. There's no product on the planet that combines the human and the AI the way that we do. And that's why we're having the success. That's really what's important to us, is that we talk about, you've heard me say this, I don't want to replace people. I want to empower people. Now, there are some dealerships that are going to make personnel decisions because you can do more with less when you have AI implemented properly, but we don't go in saying get rid of your BDC. Look, the reality is this is a human to human business. This is absolutely human to human. What we want to do is empower those people so that they can spend more time belly to belly with the customer, which is the human to human part. So when we look at this and I hear the things that the OEMs are talking about, I cannot overemphasize this. Pay attention to your customer satisfaction, your CSI, because that's ultimately going to be your leading indicator for retention. If you have a crappy CSI from a customer, what's the likelihood they're going to come back for their next oil change? They're not. They're defecting. They're defecting. Like 80% or something ridiculous of customers have said they've left a dealership over communication. And if you think about that, you're like, oh crap, how do we deal with that? We launched another big group, and the partner texted me the other night and he said, I've never implemented a system that has been this widely well received. He said, I've never put anything into the dealership where I didn't have somebody coming up telling me to get rid of it. They literally are thanking me for this and telling them we have made their job so much easier. And the reason that this is happening is because with the AI, you guys haven't seen the new stuff that our AI is doing. Agentic AI is this buzzword, buzz phrase that gets thrown around a ton. Agentic AI simply means that it's an AI that has been trained to do a job, but it has flexibility about how it does that job. Okay. So here's point A, here's point Z. It doesn't have to go A, B, C, D, E. It could go A, D, C, B, E to get to where it needs to go. It can make its own decision about what's best for the customer experience. Our AI, our agentic AI, is part of the reason that we have that 84.1% confirmed booking in the DMS for that group I was just talking about. It's also the reason that we're having so much success. Right now, every single bit of communication that comes through the dealership into the service operations goes through the AI. The AI actually is going into the conversations. It's looking at the repair order. It's looking at the last 24 hours of communication, and it's building a task list of things that need to be done to take care of this customer. And guess what it does? It either does it automatically or it tags in a human and says, you need to call him and do X. It is already built on their screen. So literally advisors are going to their dashboard in Numa, and to do their status updates, it's already there. They don't have to do anything through it. They click and they go, write it for me. Carl will be ready at 2. And it crafts the message, perfect grammar, perfect spelling, perfect punctuation. It ain't in all caps, so it's not screaming at the customer. And it allows them with literally 2 clicks to click, and update that customer, and they're done. I literally had a service advisor that told me, I will never write my own message again to a customer.
Wow.
Because the AI is building the direction that they need to go. And it's just saying simply, click the button. And so having that and having that communication, we launched a Toyota dealer, and Toyota dealer CSI is out of a 5, right? And so when we launched, store's doing pretty decent. They're at a 4.39. 2 weeks later, they're at a 4.49. 2 weeks after that, they're at a 4.55. They're going to be at 4.6 within 60 days. And that's great. And, that's like 4.5 is where you want to be. 4.6 is great. And so we're seeing not only increases in CSI, but because of the way that the AI is incorporated into the process and into the follow-up, we're seeing significantly more people that are willing to go to a public review site and leave a review. Google, Facebook, Dealer Rater, whatever you're using at your store. Now, obviously, we highly recommend using Google, but we actually will work through with the customers. And because it's in the same communication channel that they've already been communicating with the advisors, they're much more willing to do it because it feels like it's coming from your advisor. And so it's not a random text from a different text number. You know what I mean? It's literally from the same text I was just engaging with the advisor, which, by the way, is the number for the dealership. So it's just the seamlessness of the communication that is pulling it all together. So anyway, I'm babbling about a lot of things, but I want to talk about this from the standpoint that even if you're not using an AI platform for your communication, your follow-up, even if you're not using it for your appointments, there's 2 things that I'm going to challenge every single dealer that's watching this, every single service manager that's watching this. You need to track the inbound calls for appointments. How many of them talk to a human, and what percentage of those got scheduled?
Hey, Eric, while you're on that topic,
yes,
we just did a panel with you mentioned Tully earlier. We did a panel with Tully, and we had a number of service managers. And a common thing that you and I and Sarah have seen for years is the booking for appointments in the service department. The advisors control the booking, and somehow magically every day at about 11 o'clock a.m. or 11:30 they stop taking appointments. So what happens is the afternoon now is empty in the dealership, and everybody can't figure out why. Okay, well, how come we have no appointments? How come we're not working in the shop? It's because the advisors turned off the scheduling. And how common is that, Sarah? Right?
Incredibly common, Ted, and it sounds like Numa is a big fix to some of those challenges and other changes that are on the horizon for the customer experience.
So what's interesting about this? One of the challenges with a lot of the online schedulers, is that they schedule for advisor availability, not shop availability, right? And so when you look at this and you're actually trying to maximize the efficiency of a shop, You can't do that with an online scheduler that's saying, well, we can do 14 appointments for X advisor today, and he's already got 8 booked, so I can only do 6 more appointments. Like, that's not the reality of the shop. That's got nothing to do with the shop. So it's this huge disconnect there that an experienced manager needs to be overseeing on a continual basis in regards to that. And I don't care how you schedule an appointment. A certain percentage of people don't show up, right? We're going to have a 15% fall off.
Yeah.
So if you only schedule to 100% advisor availability, that means that you've got 15% that are basically guaranteed not to show up that day. And then you might have some walk-ins that maybe will offset that, but you're never going to maximize what's going on in your shop. Like, that's a challenge, right? And we have to pay attention to that stuff. That's a big challenge. And we're really pushing on the idea of loading the shop based on technician availability, not advisor availability. Like, this is something that is coming from us that's going to be, I think, kind of a game changer, because if we want to be at 100% fixed absorption, then we have to manage to 102, 103% shop efficiency at a minimum, right? Like, that's where we have to get to. And so how do we do that? We do that by managing what's going on with the technicians. So that's a little peek into the future, Ted, Sarah. That's a little peek into the future about what's coming down the pipe.
Derek, dealers love what you're doing. Okay. It's obvious in the numbers. You're over that 1,000 mark now. You're into a lot of dealers significantly and making great strides for them. And I can imagine what the rest of the year looks like for you. And then next year, how are you going to top what you're doing this year? But I
don't know.
You're moving
I don't
ahead very
know.
quickly, and it's obvious to everybody. So
yeah, we are, and we're growing. And one of the things that I absolutely love about the company that I work for is that we're truly a product-led company. One of the challenges in this industry is oftentimes you'll see a software product that's pretty decent, and then they'll get bought by one of these aggregator firms, right? Like a private equity firm might buy them. And when that happens, the private equity guys, their mandate is to get as much profit out of the acquisition as they possibly can. So what do? They stifle innovation by getting rid of the expensive programmers that they have. We are very well funded, and we are very committed to being a product-driven company, so much that today we have more developers on staff than we do every other role in the company, including HR and back office. We had, at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of 24, we had 12 developers. We had 24 in the middle of the year. We had doubled. We thought we were killing it then. We had 50 by the end of the year. We're hiring another 25 that have been in process. We'll have 10 that are starting now and another 15 that'll start by September. We're going to have 75 AI machine learning developers working full-time on our product, because we know that AI is evolving at such a rate that what we can do with the product is evolving as well. One of the things that you've heard me talk about in the past is that Numa can communicate in over 100 different languages, right? So we can do Mandarin Chinese, we can do, Polish, English. Somebody asked me if we did Gaelic one day, and I was like, that's the Irish language, right? Isn't it? And he's like, yeah. And I go, well, here, text me in Gaelic and let's see. And he did, and it did Gaelic. And he's like, oh my God, that's amazing. So that's a weird thing. But here's something else that we just found out. Do you know what else Numa speaks? Technician. So when you look at the notes that you get from a technician,
yes,
you have to then decipher that and then figure out how to communicate that to a customer in a way that allows you to upsell the job, correct? Well, guess what happens now? The technician's notes go into Numa. When Numa does write it for me, it then processes that into basic English language, or whatever language they're communicating, and allows you to take a technician's, paragraph with the TSB and the part and the readings and all of the things and convert that into, how do I upsell this to a customer?
Wow.
And that's game changing, because most of our advisors don't have the background that a technician does today, right? They didn't, it didn't like in the old days where somebody grew up as a technician and then all of a sudden now they're a service advisor. We're hiring people that have never, ever turned a wrench to be service advisors. And we're asking them to explain complex technical details to somebody to get them to okay the approval, to approve the job. That's hard. And so Numa is taking that responsibility on itself and is converting those technician notes into consumable, basic, easy to sell information. And our advisors are going nuts over this.
So,
So
Derek,
they don't have to go now and find that tech and go, what the hell does this mean?
I'm watching this. I'm a dealer. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a decision maker at a group of dealers. I want this technology for my dealerships. What do? I've heard about Numa. Others of my 20 group are talking about it. You're obviously, on tip of the tongue of many people in the industry. How do people get their questions answered? If I have questions, how it's going to apply to me and my particular, dealerships?
That is a great question, and I'll answer that. And then I'm going to tag on one last thought with that. So you can go to numa.com and you can just click on get a demo, and you'll get paired up with the regional sales manager for your area where you're located, and we'll get you taken care of. We'll answer any of your questions. You can email me, Derek@numa.com. Either way, whatever you want to do, reach out and we'll get you squared away. But Ted, what you just said is the number one thing. You can have the best AI on the planet, but if you try and force it into a situation where it doesn't fit the process, it's going to fail, right? When you look at a technician, right, and you open their drawer, it's not random stuff. The sockets are in order. I need a 10 millimeter. I know where my 10 millimeter socket is. I also know if I put the 10 millimeter socket on my wrench and I turn the bolt 10 times, the bolt comes out. I clean it, I put it back. That's a process, right? They do that. That's how they operate. If you say to him, this is the best magical socket ever, he's going to look at it and he's going to go like, boop, he's going to throw it in the box. He's going to be like, whatever, my 10 works. And I'm going to use my 10. So you have to integrate whatever you're doing into the process flow of the dealership. And that's why it's important. You just said, if you're a dealer and you have questions about how this works in your specific instance, right? How do you get them answered? Every single dealership is different. We literally work with, 5 or 6 out of the top 10 groups in the nation. And a lot of them say, you use this DMS, you use this CRM, you use this phone system, right? So you would think it would be very similar across all of them. No, it's not. Every single dealership is set up differently. Every single operation is different. We have to fully customize everything that we do with Numa to make it work for the dealer. And so your point is exactly what I want to talk about. If you have a dealership, we're not going to say to you, okay, well, this is where you're going to get it. This is how we're going to do Numa. It's just a cookie cutter. We literally are going to mystery shop your entire dealership. We're going to understand all your call routing, all your hunt groups. We're going to understand how your team works. We're going to understand days off. We're going to understand hours of operation. We're going to understand all of it, because until we do that, we can't even figure out how to plan to put Numa in there. So we have 2 different teams that literally work with every single customer, a solutions engineer and a performance architect. Solutions engineer is really working on the data and the things and all the stuff. And then the performance architects are your actual consultants. They are ex-GMs, they are ex-partners, they are ex-service directors. They are people that understand and know what's going on in a dealership. And we look at every single customer differently, because Ted, the reason you bought Numa is going to be different than the reason why Sarah bought it. And if we can't help you achieve your business goal, what happens? You leave. And so we look at this from the standpoint of, we're your partner. We're the easiest people in the world to do business with. We don't have contract. I've told you that before. We literally give you a quote and it says, as long as you keep paying us, we'll keep doing what we're doing. And we have the lowest churn rate out of any software product in automotive. We're right at 1%. We're like 1.17% last quarter. That is phenomenal, right? That means that we are retaining 99% basically of our client base. The thing about this is we couldn't do that unless we were solving their goals, right? So we really work to customize Numa to achieve what you want to achieve. You want to get more appointments? No problem. We know how to optimize for that. You want higher dollars per RO? No problem. We know how to optimize for that. You want a better CSI? We got you. We know how to optimize for that. So when you look at what's going on in your business and you think about what the challenges are and the things that you're facing as far as headwinds, you need to look at a software provider, whether it's us or anybody else, that is going to help you achieve that goal and deal with those headwinds. And that's where having experienced partners in automotive make a difference. There are too many times that we see, we're a great tech company. We don't know shinola about automotive. In fact, we've never worked in a dealership, but we're going to come in here and tell you how to do this using our technology.
and you've never walked a mile in my shoe, man. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I joined this company for one reason. I saw it and said, oh my God, this makes sense. This solves so many problems, not the other way around. We're going to solve a problem that we've created and we're going to sell you this software. No.
And you know what, Derek? You're probably going to solve so many more that we haven't even thought about yet.
Oh, yeah.
That are on the horizon that are
Oh,
coming
yeah.
your way.
You know the
And-
3 C's, right?
Yep.
Right? Complaint, cause, and correction. One of the biggest challenges with that is how do you get those written so that they're going to pass warranty audits? And how do you get those written so that it's going to be something that's going to be viable when the OEMs are looking at your ROs and are validating them, right? So, hey, who might have a software that handles that? Who might already be writing things for dealerships on ROs? Think about that. There's another little look into the future.
All right. Sarah, Derek and Numa making great strides, and honored to have them here with us at the roundtable. For folks who want to get more information, numa.com. You can reach out to Derek. You see his email scrolling there. Congratulations too, my friend. I know we have a lot more ahead, and
we do.
looking forward to hearing about what strides you have next.
We love being a partner with you, Ted and Sarah. Like, you guys are amazing, and I love the interaction that I get with the dealers from the roundtable. It's just amazing. So thank you. Thank you, seriously.
A lot more to come. Everybody, Derek Simons, Executive VP Automotive at Numa, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
We want to make it so that every automotive dealer can use AI natively and effectively to enhance the abilities of your employees to do their job. When we look at the ROI, one of the things that we know is that if you can communicate to a customer on a missed phone call in 15 minutes or less, that drives up profitability and customer satisfaction. So not only does our AI engage that customer on a missed phone call, it also creates a workflow for the employees to get back to the customers with predictive intelligence about what they need to provide to the customer to handle the situation as it arises.
Get caught up with the culture and core values from our friends at Snell Motor Company, filmed live at our pop-up event.
Hello, everyone. It's Katrina Ness with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We are here in Dallas, Texas at the Snell Motor Company. I'm with Teddings, and we have an amazing panel here to talk about the culture and the history.
Katrina, what a great visit we're having here in Dallas with Snell Motor Company. And as you said, we want to talk a little bit about the history, culture, and core values. We're here with Rebecca and with Ken as well. So Ken, kind of take us back through the history of Snell and how we got here today.
Well, we are a third generation company. Started in 1973 with Mr. Don Snell as a Buick dealership. We learned a lot about that this last couple of weeks in our interviews with the owners. And Don himself was actually a GM for a Chevy dealership that used to be here, and was constantly looking for his own dealership, to the point that they thought they were going to have to leave the state to go get their own dealership. And then turned out he ended up with a Buick dealership, which this room you're sitting in right now is actually the showroom of the Buick dealership back in 1987, I believe it was.
So this Jaguar Land Rover service area was once a showroom.
Wow. This was the showroom.
Very cool. And from there, at some point later on, they acquired a Jaguar Land Rover franchise. You and I discussed that. That's a pretty interesting story you told me.
Yes. Apparently they went to NADA somewhere in like 86, 87 for a visit, and walked into a booth at NADA, and Jaguar Land Rover were there, actually Land Rover at that time, trying to get their start in the U.S. And Mr. Snell at that point handed a business card, said I'd be interested in talking. They reached out to him a few months later, and from what we understand, we were the first store in Texas to sell a Range Rover.
Wow.
Here in Dallas.
That's amazing.
To the point that it was such a new demographic coming into the United States. They sent one of our technicians for 2 weeks of training in the UK. So that was pretty interesting. Yeah.
So now today, Snell Motor Company involves how many rooftops and how many different locations?
We have 5 rooftops total, 4 different locations.
Okay.
So we have 3 Jaguar Land Rover stores of our own.
All here in Texas or
Texas and Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma? Okay. And approximately how many employees?
So we have a little under 400 employees, right? And so with the 5 rooftops, we also have a collision center. So you guys were able to meet Jackie, who is from the collision center, and that one's also located here in DFW. So,
wow. So managing such a large organization with so many different rooftops and profit centers under it, you guys have such a strong culture. You have mission statements, values as well. I know some of your core values are honesty, integrity, respect, trust, commitment, and passion. Ken, which ones of these really stand out and do you kind of embody the most on a day-to-day basis?
Actually, to be honest with you, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Integrity, I think, is probably one of our biggest ones, because being in the dealership world as long as I've been, and a lot of people that work for us have been, is, we do have the reputation for not being trusted very much. So we focus on integrity every single day in the business to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the customer every single time.
So Rebecca, 3 generations strong, started in about 1973. And I'll just read from the mission statement here. It says, Snell Motor Companies is committed to building a high-performing dealership family devoted to creating a culture that is guest-centered while furthering the knowledge and careers of our team members. Talk to us about furthering the knowledge and careers of the team members. That seems to be a big part of what we talked about today.
absolutely. I think you are going to see a trend even with our succession planning, right? I just touched on the technician that went to the UK, right, for 2 weeks. And so that was such a new thing that it's not something that we've just started. It is something that they've been truly passionate about, equipping our teammates with just that education. And then, in talking with Jimmy, we're like, well, where do we go from here? He goes, I want to grow as much as the people want to grow. And so his vision is really about the people of this company and how do we equip them. Matter of fact, as chaotic as it's been today, we have a 4-day training for JLR here as we're filming today. And then there's trainings going on, every customer facing role has to take. Yeah.
Your people have been amazing. And I'm looking here, Ken, and this word came up earlier today, empowering your people. Consistently exceeding expectations through empowered team members committed to building meaningful relationships that enhance the guest experience. You do really empower your team members.
Absolutely. It's a big focus across the board, not just in fixed ops, but even in the variable side of the business too, is to empower the people to take care of their client. At the end of the day, if we don't take care of our client, someone else will. So we need to do that, and we need to do it to the best of our abilities. So empowerment is huge when it comes to that side of the business.
And it works from the top down.
That's right. And, we talk about empowerment, just not for our external clients, but our internal clients as well, right? We want to be able to equip our leaders and our management team to empower themselves into creating a culture for our internal teammates as well. And creating that succession plan, make sure you have, and you're training your replacement at all times, right? Because everybody wants to grow. And so empowering them to teach the next generation as well.
Katrina, I've also noticed, the attitude is really great of the people here. That's something you can't teach, okay? You can't train for that. You've got that. So
Absolutely. And that comes with a very lucrative hiring process as well. I was talking to Rebecca about this earlier, when onboarding new individuals and ensuring that they're the right fit for the company as soon as they step foot in the door. Rebecca, if you want to touch a little bit more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit about what my process looks like when it comes to interviewing and making sure that we're sourcing the right candidates. My goal is to always have somebody come in here with a servant's heart, right? We talk about commitment and passion, and you hear me say that throughout all of the panels and sessions, right? Servant's heart, servant's heart. And so we're in a client facing role. We take care of our clients. And so if you don't do it with integrity, with a servant's heart, with passion, then it shows on the service drive and it shows within us. And I think that's why you guys were able to get that kind of energy from all of our teammates, because we make sure that we equip them. They love what they do. And we make sure that whoever comes on board, whether it's internally and they progress into management, everybody gets an interview. And so it's just kind of how it's embedded in us, right?
Absolutely.
And Ken, thank you for helping us to tell this story today. You know, here we are in the service department of all places.
Yes.
You know, where we're surrounded by vehicles, Jaguars, Land Rovers, vehicles being serviced. You know, that's all part of the story, the fixed operation story, and ultimately the story of empowerment of Snell as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's definitely an interesting story. Again, we just celebrated 50 years, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a big deal, and we're looking at to Rebecca's point earlier and talking with Jimmy. He still wants to grow the company. He wants to grow the portfolio that we have, and he's looking to expand his brand and his knowledge and things like that. So there's a lot of exciting things to come.
Just to kind of piggyback on, empowerment is going to be the keyword for today. And if anybody out there is thinking about, well, why aren't we hearing from Jim and Jimmy? And so these are the kind of leaders they are. They have empowered us and entrusted in us to deliver the message of legacy. We don't have to have the Snell last name, but they are committed to us, and they know that we will deliver that message in a way that they would be so proud of. And that, to me, is the kind of leadership and empowerment that you get from not everybody out there. So we're very blessed to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Congratulations to both of you and the organization on being a Fixed Ops Roundtable certified dealer.
Thank you.
And, thank you. Appreciate all you do. I'm Ted Ings with Katrina Ness. We're here in Dallas, Texas with the Fixed Ops Roundtable at the Snell Motor Company. We will be right back.
Get the jump on recruiting techs from our next panel filmed live at our Snell pop-up event.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Katrina Ness, joined by Ted Ings, and we are here in Dallas, Texas at the Snell Motor Company. Ted, this is amazing. We're so grateful to be here.
We're going to be talking a little bit today about career paths and the unique program that Snell has set up for their employees. I'd like everybody up here on the panel to introduce themselves. Tell us your first and last name and what you do here at Snell.
Absolutely. My name is Rebecca De Leon, and I oversee our talent acquisition.
I am Angel Ruiz. I'm a technician, automotive technician.
My name is Christopher Chavez. I'm a level 1 certified technician.
My name is Alejandro Araiza. I am the shop foreman here at Land Rover Dallas.
My name is Emilio Rios. I'm also a technician here.
Adam McNatt, shop foreman, Land Rover Frisco.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Rebecca, tell us about the college signing day pay plan signing event that you guys had.
Absolutely. Honestly, that was one of my favorite career moments. And it has nothing to do with what I've done and everything to do with what they've done. So we partnered with a local high school here in the DFW area. And so a lot of the time, college signing day is such a big deal, right? You are just committing to a 4-year university. And so the one thing that I wanted to do was also make sure that these career paths programs are also recognized as big as the 4-year university commitments. And so I talked to the instructor and I go, hey, for signing day, can we get a little bit of piece of the pie, right? Let us kind of celebrate our technicians that are graduating high school and be part of that program. And so we talked to the principal. They said, absolutely. And so instead of committing to a 4-year university, what these students did is they came out of high school with a offer to work at a luxury dealership group. And so we took their pay plan and they signed it that day, committing to, Jaguar Land Rover of Dallas. So it was a very neat experience. Angel, talk to us a little bit about kind of what your friends were experiencing that day, because they were all coming up to you guys, weren't they?
Yeah, it was a day. It was you guys gave us, a box, a tool car that we could put our tools in, And it's like a good start for us, since we really just started with no tools, and that was a good gift.
Yeah. So what we did was, we had our signing day table, and then we bought toolboxes and tool carts for our technician apprentices with our logo on there. And so they were set up very nice, which was kind of a cool factor. Their tools laid out, their names on the toolboxes. And so again, we wanted to celebrate in such a grandiose way, because at the end of the day, they're coming out of high school in a full with employment, right? So it was a really neat thing. And then with Chris, we actually recruited him from one of our local colleges here. He started off as a valet, right? For how long?
For about 6 months, I would say.
Yeah. And then you've progressed to being a technician.
Yes, that's right.
How long have you been with us now?
As a technician, a little over a year now.
Okay. So how did you decide this was the place to be? Because it's also a very interesting story for him.
So I came with my classroom to take a tour of Land Rover, and as soon as we pulled up to the service drive, we were welcomed, and that felt very welcoming to me, and I like that about y'all.
Yeah.
And then
One of the things I said, I was like, so we had a field trip planned for the colleges, right? And so we're like, come in and take a look at our facility. We had swag bags out on the drive. And so we wanted them to look at our dealership and really recognize that. And one of the things that I always tell any entry-level technician is, if you want to go work for a dealership group, go in regular clothes, right? And the way they address you coming in is key, right? Because if they address you right away, that means that the culture and the people there have servants' heart. Again, you guys will hear me say that a lot, right? And so if you go in your technician attire, guess what? Everybody's going to gravitate towards you. So what that'll do is tell you the kind of people that work there. And so that's always my rule of thumb. If you're going to go check out a dealership, make sure you do that.
Chris, thank you so much. Let me go to this next gentleman. How has this affected what you do here at Snell?
Here, it's been a great opportunity for the Snell and the technicians. Get to train them up from the bottom. I mean, start at the basis and just start training them and building them the way we would want to, and getting them the career path going for them, training with Jaguar, with Land Rover, to get them to become certified master technicians at the end of the day. So he just help us overall throughout the shop.
And things like that toolbox go a long way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Now he has a toolbox to start off with and set up his tools, and just gives them that motivation, that thing. They got me this amazing toolbox, so now it's showing that they care about me.
Now, Emilio, first of all, were you involved in the signing day? Are you a tech as well? Tell us about that.
The day of the signing day, we got very lucky. They brought us breakfast that day. We did get the toolboxes. That was a huge surprise for us throughout the day. And as the colleges were going around giving all the scholarships, we did get like the most wow factor, I guess, to it. Because even though they had the scholarships, they showed out for us. And that was like the biggest appreciation for us.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you really feel like a large support and a large excitement with, this next milestone in your life?
Yes, I did. I felt very lucky to be there at that moment, because it was not only just us, but also the other people around us. They were coming up to Rebecca asking for an opportunity to have the job.
Wow.
So it made us feel even more special while we were there. And that was like one of the biggest things throughout the day.
Definitely. Well, I'm so glad that, this event didn't only have a lasting impact on you guys, but it also set the future up for success and bringing more excitement and more possible future employees excited about this incoming role and, commitment as other, students who were committing to a 4-year college would have. Definitely.
Adam, I want to ask you, how important is it to show the community, the surrounding community here in Dallas, that working as a tech is a lucrative way to make a living? We didn't always appreciate techs in the past in our industry.
Right. Being a part of this process is that we're seeing the introduction of these guys for their career path. And not only are we trying to invite them into our culture and show them that, but we're in the business of instilling value, right? That career path is respected, and then we're going to offer the steps that they can take to reach their goals.
Okay, I like that a whole lot. Lightning round, if I can, to close this out today. Just 30 seconds or less from everybody, starting with Rebecca over here. What's one thing leadership has done to make you feel that the technician path was open to you? Rebecca, in your case, was open to everybody as well.
I think the one thing that they've done for me is that they've allowed me to hire high school students and kind of groom our technicians from the ground up.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah.
Angel?
For me, it was, getting an opportunity, and it's one of the best opportunities in life.
Yeah, I could tell. I could feel it. Chris, yourself.
For me, it's the opportunity to work on cars and move forward and I learn every day, and that's what I like about it.
I'll say for me, the biggest opportunity would be just from my personal experience, starting off as a quick loop technician and then moving up to shop foreman where I am now. Just trying to build that path for somebody else as well.
Yep. Emilio.
I think the biggest opportunity was being able to choose this place as our work environment and just the area of expertise we got to go into.
Awesome. And then Adam, from your perspective, what is one thing being in a leadership role that you guys try to do to make sure that the technician path is open to external individuals and for them to get excited about it?
Sure. The main thing is we're showing them that the opportunity is there, that this is an industry that's very welcoming and that you can develop your career. And most importantly, you get purpose from that. It's good to see these guys bring that level of energy into this. And we want to just, bring the best into that.
Am I correct in saying that we have 2 shop foremen here on this panel today?
Yes.
And, to show everybody the career path, that it's possible, okay, to move up, and have a career being a tech and a really good career. Congratulations to all of you on making the move here. And congratulations to Snell Motor Company as well for all you do for our industry and moving it forward. I'm Ted Ings. I'm here with Katrina Ness. We're in Dallas, Texas today. We're at the Snell Motor Company, Jaguar Land Rover, working and listening and meeting with the people of Snell. Katrina and I will be right back.
Go mad!
Go mad! Go